Part 37. Fringe Artists in the Entertainment Industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 374. Chapter 362-361. Press well. People's tolerance is strengthened time and time again. After the first time, there will be a second time, and the second time will be more tolerant. Li Fujian didn't know what he was thinking. Anyway, he was now able to apply essential oil on his hands very skillfully, and then massage his back muscles very accurately. Chen Lian lying there was not really enjoying himself. Li Fujian's techniques were too spicy, but the psychological feeling was still very enjoyable. That is to say, the current Li Fujian is not perfect, plus the financial crisis, otherwise there would be no such opportunity. People must learn to seize opportunities. In such a big era, there are not many things that Chen Lian can do, but he can seize the hard-won opportunities every time, whether it is VCD, making movies, or doing art. It's all the result of Chen Lian seizing opportunities again and again. Just like this time, if we don't seize the opportunity of South Korea's economic difficulties and internal strife, how could such a thing happen? Chen Lian enjoyed the meeting with Li Fujian for a while and said, "Don't always press on one place. There are still legs down there." Li Fujian said angrily, "Chen Lian, don't go too far. Tisk, tisk, call me Mr. Chen when you need me. Now you'll call me Chen Lian. Are you going to call me a pariah in a few days?" Chen Lian's hand touched the mobile phone again, and Li Fujian immediately said bitterly, "I should really find someone to arrest you. Ordinary people can't catch me. I can fight and run very fast. I don't have a chance without a gun," Chen Lian said with a smile. "Oh, by the way, when you seized my works and other cultural relics, I will contact the embassy. You have no chance. You are awesome." Li Fujian moved his little hand down Chen Lian's back bitterly, and the previous bath towel had been thrown aside. Li Fujian blushed and pressed gently, not too hard. His palms were trembling slightly, and it felt more like slippery fingers to Chen Lian. Very talented. Chen Lian closed his eyes and enjoyed it for a while, then suddenly said with some embarrassment, "Okay, stop pressing it." Li Fujian was stunned for a moment. Didn't he say that he still wanted to press his legs? But she soon discovered something was wrong with Chen Lian, and she felt a strange feeling in her heart. She wasn't shy, just a little proud. "Don't you look down on me? Did you also say that I can only find a bodyguard? Why is there still a reaction? Hey, man." Li Fujian pretended not to hear and continued to press gently. She was going to watch Chen Lian deflate. When he can't help it anymore, laugh at him. Li Fujian himself didn't realize that his IQ seemed to be lowered by Chen Lian, but he still enjoyed doing this kind of thing. It's really not like her original character. But it's not surprising when you think about it. When a strong woman is not strong, she is just a woman, and she will always act foolishly. Li Fujian remembered his purpose and asked while pressing the button, "What are your future projects? Why do you have to find me? Have you been targeting me from the beginning? Don't be so narcissistic." Chen Lian twisted his body and pressed the gun and said, "It's just the right time. It's not like there aren't people who are more suitable than you." Li Fujian couldn't help but scratch his fingers, snorted and said, "Then what is your project?" "I'll tell you when you go to China." Chen Lian won't tell you now. Lixin hasn't developed MP3 yet. MP3 does not have many components and is not difficult to produce, but it is difficult to be completely independent. In terms of semiconductors, it will have to rely on big companies in the future, either Samsung or Sony. Chen Lian naturally wants to be able to be independent, but his current strength does not allow it, and he does not have the conditions. He will develop slowly and little by little in the future. But the premise of everything is that Flixen's MP3 can gain a firm foothold in the market. In the early stage, someone with an international perspective is needed to lead Flixen to the world. Xiao Linmu is not suitable. He has also been exposed to the international market. Although he is the second uncle, he is blind. Li Fuchen is actually quite suitable. He is capable and knowledgeable. He is a very suitable candidate for early market development. As for the later stage, it depends on Li Fu's real choice. Maybe she still wants to come back and inherit Samsung. Li Fuchen thought for a while and said, "Then what conditions are you going to give me? In giving you shares, I am much more generous than your eldest brother and your father." Chen Lian couldn't help but smile and said, "Maybe these shares will be more valuable than the shares you got in Samsung in the future." Li Fuchen couldn't help the urge to refute, and became even more curious about the source of Chen Lian's confidence. "Why are you so confident? You only have one assembly plant now." Li Fuchen thought for a moment and then added, "There is also the art museum in Xiangjiang and some properties in Tokyo." Chen Lian raised his hand and knocked on his head and said, "Because I can foresee the future. Li Fuchen, I really think highly of you. Those who engage in art are indeed lunatics. You will believe it in the future." Chen Lian closed his eyes and felt that the fire in his body was much less intense, and said, "No need to press the button, I'm going to eat." Li Fuchen glanced at his vital parts subconsciously, blushed, let go of his hand, picked up a towel, wiped his hands and said, "What are you going to do if I fail to be transferred to China?" "I will take this opportunity to drink more blood from Sangxing, and then give you a big gift when you marry the bodyguard." "You just married a bodyguard?" Li Fuchen threw the towel on Chen Lian angrily, turned around and left. If he stayed any longer, Chen Lian would be angry to death. Chen Lian sat up and hummed a song and went to take a shower. "What should I eat tonight? French food or Chinese food? I don't want kimchi anyway. Who would regard kimchi as the main dish?" Chen Lian couldn't help but scorned it. He suddenly thought that the sales of kimchi in South Korea would be very good in the next few years. Should he go back to China to grow some Chinese cabbage and sell it to them? In the French restaurant in the evening, Chen Lian was cutting steak and talking to Jifa about going to Tokyo. "You and Bai Qing will take people to Tokyo first. I will stay here for a few more days." Jifa took a bite of lobster meat and said, "The Samsung matter is not over yet? Hasn't Li Fuchen already been looking for you?" Chen Lian nodded and said, "It will take a few more days. Tokyo also needs time to prepare. I will go there when things here are over. After the Tokyo station this time, the Chinese New Year will be here. I don't know if I can make it in time." Bai Qing suddenly felt homesick. Chen Lian said with a smile, "It's too late, I'll charter a flight back and I'll make sure you catch the New Year's Eve dinner." Bai Qing hummed, as if thinking about being forced to marry again during the Chinese New Year gave him a headache. Being homesick but not wanting to be forced to get married is really a headache. Chen Lian seemed to understand Bai Qing's thoughts and said to her, "Go back and tell your mother that you have a boyfriend." "You? My dad can fight you with a gun." Bai Qing rolled his eyes and said. Chen Lian coughed and said, "Uncle, does he have some misunderstanding about me?" "Do you think it's a misunderstanding? Okay, then you'd better be forced to get married." The next day, Jifa took Bai Qing to Tokyo, while Chen Lian stayed alone in the hotel waiting for Li Fuchen's call. Chen Lian was actually quite worried that Li Fuchen would regret it. After all, he was here to make money. Once he had vented his anger, he would not be so impulsive. Li Fuchen's news yesterday was indeed true. Chen Lian did see the news about the contact between Samsung and Morgan Bank in today's newspaper, and Samsung's stock price also rose along with the trend. However, the increase is not very large, and the information in the news is also vague, without any useful and definite information. Chen Lian knew that this was done by Samsung itself. In order to give the market confidence and let its stock price recover, the reason why it did not rise significantly is also very simple. Wall Street is not willing to see Samsung's stock rise at this time, and the dip hunting is not over yet. This kind of thing will not come to fruition in a short while. If South Korea does not order the lifting of restrictions, and the capital giants on Wall Street cannot get enough shares, how can it be possible for your stock price to rise? We have to take advantage of this opportunity to harvest more shares before giving up the attack on South Korea. Capital is the most ruthless. Chen Lian waited for a while but didn't get Li Fuchen's call. He couldn't help but sigh. The princess was still arrogant. Boom, boom, boom. There was a knock on the door of the room suddenly. Chen Lian frowned and looked back. Thinking it was Li Fuchen, he stood up and walked over to open the door. But after opening the door, the person outside was not Li Fuchen, but Li Yingxin. Mr. Chen Li Yingxin looked at Chen Lian nervously, but with a smile on her face, she looked at Chen Lian and said, "Have your works been returned to you? I'm sorry that such an unpleasant thing happened." Chen Lian looked at her in surprise, then nodded and said, "I told you it has nothing to do with you, you don't need to apologize to me." After saying that, Chen Lian was about to close the door. Li Yingxin raised his hand to block it and said, "To express my apology, I want to treat you to dinner." "No need," Chen Lian said calmly, and just as he was about to close the door, Li Yingxin said quickly, "Please give me a chance to express my apology, and I also like art very much. Please give me a chance." Chen Lian knew this. He had read the gossip news in his previous life and knew that she went to France to study art and then died. However, Chen Lian had no intention of saving people from danger. Looking at the 18-year-old Li Yingxin, he couldn't help but frown and said, "I said no, I have other things to do and I don't have time." After saying that, Chen Lian closed the door. Li Yingxin, who had been rejected, pursed her lips and felt particularly aggrieved. Why didn't she forgive herself even though she came to apologize? No one had ever treated her like this. Li Yingxin waved her fist in frustration, then stood at the door and sighed before leaving. After Li Yingxin disappeared in the hotel corridor, Li Fuchen appeared, with a trace of inexplicable relaxation in his eyes. Fortunately, Chen Lian didn't have any thoughts about his sister, otherwise she wouldn't let Chen Lian go. Li Fuchen walked to Chen Lian's door and knocked. The door opened after a while. "I said you don't need to apologize, please." Chen Lian opened the door and saw Li Fuchen, so he stepped aside and said, "It's you, come in." Li Fuchen walked in with a cold face, and the door was slammed shut. Li Yingxin, who had just turned back in the corridor and was about to ask Chen Lian if he would come to Korea to hold an exhibition, opened his eyes wide with surprise. Why did my sister enter Chen Lian's room? Why do they feel so familiar? What is happening? Li Yingxin's mind was in chaos at this time, and she felt a little sour inexplicably. Is it because he was rejected by Chen Lian? Or is it because of my sister? The young and ignorant Li Yingxin could not figure out what she was thinking, so she left in despair. In the room, Chen Lian looked at Li Fuchen and asked, "Are you here to reject me or to tell me good news?" Li Fuchen sat on the sofa and took a look at the situation in the room before saying, "I'm not here to reject you, but it's not good news either. At least it's not good news for me." Chen Lian smiled. It was not good news for Li Fuchen, but it must be good news for himself. "Actually, it's good news for you." Chen Lian crossed his legs and said with a smile, "You have no autonomy in South Korea, you will be stared at by your elder brother, and you will face long-term scrutiny from your father. It is difficult to make a decision. Score. But it's different when you go to China. People in the branch won't make things difficult for you. You can do things freely and achieve results. The most important thing is not to show your presence in front of your father. Your family has no family ties." Li Fuchen narrowed his eyes and looked at Chen Lian and said, "Sometimes I really wonder how you can be so smart and stupid at the same time. Please pay attention to your wording, I am your future boss." Chen Lian snorted unhappily, his eyes fell on Li Fuchen's fair hands, and somehow he remembered what happened yesterday. Li Fujian followed Chen Lian's gaze, glanced at his hand, then raised it and shook it and said, "Is this how the boss looks at his employees?" Chen Lian shrugged his shoulders and said, "This is appreciation. Okay, now let's get down to business. How will you join Leixin after you go to China? I've already thought about this. Please tell me first what conditions you plan to give me." Specifically, Li Fujian took back his hand and asked seriously. Chen Lian thought for a while and said, "This depends on your ability. I can give you 5 to 10% at most. Of course I won't give it to you directly. As long as you fulfill my requirements, this is an option reward. On a daily basis, I will give you the CEO's annual salary in accordance with international standards." Li Fujian calculated the current valuation of Leixin. Calculated based on the highest 10%, it would be tens of millions of dollars. If the project mentioned by Chen Lian is true, the valuation of these shares will definitely rise in the future, and it will be even more by then. Li Fujian now really believes what Chen Lian said. He will give more than Samsung, at least for now, more than Samsung. Chen Lian looked at Li Fujian and added, "When you see my new project, you will find that it is a very generous reward, and there will be more profitable projects in the future. I have many ideas in my mind. As long as you have capability, Leixin will definitely become a trillion-level company in the future." Li Fujian couldn't help but squeeze out a smile and said, "1. Chen Lian, I have 1 trillion won now, okay. Why didn't you say Zimbabwean currency? Some good person uses the Korean won as a unit of measurement." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 375. Chapter 363-362. Scumbag. I ate it and still didn't admit it. For an ambitious woman like Li Fujian, who was born with a silver spoon in her mouth, it is useless no matter how much a man says. Only when he sees the facts will he believe you. Chen Lian didn't want to explain so much to her. He just wanted to wait for her to see for herself what was going on with Leixin Electronics. That's it for Leixin's situation. We'll talk about the rest when you get to China. Chen Lian took a sip of coffee to refresh himself and looked at her and continued, "I don't really agree with the cooperation model you mentioned. If you want to take care of both sides, it will inevitably be a problem if one party is harmed. We will have a good talk after you arrive in China, and then you can decide." Li Fujian couldn't help being surprised, looked at him and asked, "What if I choose not to cooperate with you? By then the financial crisis will be over, and you won't be able to threaten me anymore." "What are you talking about? How can it be a threat?" Chen Lian coughed and said, "I am a very sincere invitation, and I hope you will sincerely acknowledge it." "Really?" Li Fujian stood up deliberately, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Then shall I leave?" Chen Lian lowered his head and held the cell phone without speaking, but Li Fujian clearly saw the number marked Tang. Shameless, Li Fujian sat down again and looked at Chen Lian angrily. Chen Lian raised his head and looked at Li Fujian and said, "I know you have discernment and are reluctant to leave. Sign this. After you sign, we will be a family." Li Fujian has not seen Chen Lian's business acumen in the past few days, but he has thoroughly seen his shamelessness. Li Fujian took the documents prepared by Chen Lian and read them one by one. He hesitated for a while before signing his name. He was under the roof, but whether he wanted to help him sincerely or not would depend on what Chen Lian's company did. Sample. If it doesn't go well, I can break the contract when the time comes, and then I won't be afraid of him anymore. After watching Li Fujian sign his name, Chen Lian said with a smile, "You are now a spare tire, open a bottle of wine to celebrate." Spare tire, Li Fujian immediately became unhappy. He looked at Chen Lian and said, "You are my spare tire. My first choice is always Samsung." Chen Lian made a sound and said, "Unless your eldest brother gets the right to control Samsung, you will never have a chance to have a place in Samsung." Li Fujian is just too competitive. She always wants to prove herself and prove that she is better than her big brother. She wants Li Jiangzi to see her ability. Chen Lian opened a bottle of wine and poured a glass for Li Fujian and said, "In a few years, you will find that what you get from Leixin will be far more than you imagined." Looking at the wine glass handed over by Chen Lian, Li Fujian reached out to take it and said, "You are really arrogant." "Arrogant? You will know later that I am more, arrogant than you thought." Chen Lian took back his joking words and clinked glasses with Li Fujian. After the two had a few drinks, Li Fujian seemed to relax a little and said to Chen Lian, "Why did you have the courage to take action against Samsung? You never thought that Samsung would retaliate against you after it gets through the difficulties. Leixin can't stop Samsung revengeful." Chen Lian shrugged and said, "Why should I be afraid? If a 3-star makes me afraid, then what's the point of living?" Li Fujian took a deep look at Chen Lian. No matter how stupid he was sometimes, she liked his fearless spirit. This is how a man should be. The most important quality of a successful person is the courage to move forward, and of course a heart of awe is also required. Li Fujian felt that Chen Lian's biggest problem was his lack of awe. You care too much about gains and losses. In fact, sometimes when you step out of that circle, you will see more possibilities. Chen Lian drank the wine in one gulp, put the cup on the table, stood up and said, "I have never been afraid of failure, even if Li Xian didn't now, I still have the confidence to make a bigger and stronger Leixin." "You are really arrogant." Li Fujian drank wine and looked at Chen Lian's back standing in front of the window. He didn't know why he suddenly believed him. How many shares do Samsung still have now? How many more can you get in the future? Why not jump out of this circle and look at other possibilities? This is a great era of rapid development. Countless companies are appearing in China every day, and there are more companies every day. Know how many millionaires there are? Some of them are ordinary farmers, some only have primary school education, and some have not even gone to school. You have a higher starting point and stronger ability than them. Why don't you have the courage as much as them? Instead of pinning your hopes on your brother's love for you, it is better to leave Samsung and be your own master than to give charity." Chen Lian turned around and looked at Li Fujian. Her face against the light made it difficult for her to see clearly, but it made her originally firm thoughts waver a little. "Maybe you're right." Li Fujian sat on the sofa, put down most of his disguise, hugged his legs and drank wine. The sharpness in his eyes disappeared. Chen Lian's strength and shamelessness in the past few days made her feel like she couldn't cope with it. She was always being suppressed. She subconsciously had the idea of letting go of herself. Anyway, no matter how hard she pretended to be strong, he wouldn't like him, so she might as well stop pretending. Li Fujian raised his head and looked at Chen Lian's strong and generous back, and suddenly felt an urge to rely on him. He knew his ambition, but looked down upon it. It should be said that compared with Chen Lian's ambition, his ambition is ridiculous. Chen Lian does not have 3 stars in his eyes, but all his thoughts and ideas are 3 stars. To a certain extent, Chen Lian is much better than himself. Li Fujian's eyes softened when he looked at Chen Lian. He raised his glass and said to him, "Drink another drink with me. If you drink any more, you will have drunk too much. With Samsung's current situation, don't you need to go to the company?" "Oh, no one wants me to appear in the company except myself." "You finally realize this and deserve a drink." Li Fujian drank more than half of the 2 bottles of red wine. It seemed that he had been holding it in for too long and had no one to talk to. After drinking too much, he pulled Chen Lian and told her a lot of things about herself. Speaking of her childhood, she was quite happy, but when she grew up, she began to be unloved. Her family wanted to train her to be a marriage partner. Her brother saw her abilities and started to be wary. Her father didn't value her, and her mother only wanted her. "Find a suitable person to marry." He said that he worked hard every day to change his destiny and prove that he could become the heir of the family. Li Fujian said a lot, but Chen Lian didn't feel anything at all. In the past, her living environment was different and her classes were different. It was difficult to sympathize with her, but I still admired her unwillingness to admit defeat. If you can put this unwillingness to admit defeat into working hard for your career, you may succeed faster. After Li Fujian said a lot, he looked at Chen Lian's face and said, "What are the good things about men? Why do women have to depend on men? You are so good looking and successful. Are there many women who depend on you? They are all very sad." Li Fujian suddenly stood up, looked at Chen Lian condescendingly, raised his leg unsteadily and stepped on Chen Lian's knee, raised his chin with blurred eyes and said, "Aren't the men they are attached to now also being stepped on by me? You drank too much, I'm your boss, figure it out yourself." Chen Lian slapped Li Fujian's hand away. Before he finished speaking, Li Fujian stumbled and fell on him. He held Chen Lian's neck with both hands and shouted like a drunken maniac, "I must prove myself. I am better than all men. Yes, yes, you are the most powerful." Chen Lian wanted to help Li Fujian up, but before he pushed her away, Li Fujian bit him on the shoulder and shouted vaguely, "I made you look down on me and ignore me. I will definitely take revenge on you in the future. I will do it now. I want to take revenge on you." Chen Lian didn't feel any pain, and Li Fujian's mouth was as soft as cotton candy, but a woman's desire for revenge will make her unleash her great potential. Chen Lian felt that he was at a disadvantage. How could you, a dignified young lady, be so ungrateful to martial ethics? Ridiculous things always make people regret it. More than 2 hours later, Li Fujian, who was almost sober, wanted to give himself a few slaps. How could you do such a thing? Then Li Fujian stared at Chen Lian and said, "You obviously have the ability to refuse." "I drank too much. Besides, why should I refuse? I am a gentleman and will meet the lady's requirements," Chen Lian said while sitting on the sofa and drinking wine. Li Fujian was so angry that his teeth were itching, and the shameless bastard was really carved into his bones. However, her limp body at this time and her previous feeling of wanton revenge on Chen Lian made her feel very happy. "She let you bully others, but now she is being bullied by me." Chen Lian put down the cup, looked at Li Fujian who was holding onto the quilt and said, "It's still early, do you want to?" Li Fujian immediately shouted loudly, "No. My legs hurt, please let me rest for a while." Chen Lian touched his nose and said, "Oh, then I'll take a shower myself." Chen Lian, who was soaking in the bathtub in the bathroom, had just closed his eyes when he felt the bathroom door being pushed open, but he did not open his eyes until the water level in the bathtub rose. Women are really very revengeful, but Chen Lian is not a vegetarian either, so let's see who is the toughest one. Chen Lian is very tough. No fear at all. After an unknown amount of time, Li Fujian, who had already changed into professional attire, looked at Chen Lian while drinking coffee and said, "What exactly is your project?" "I won't tell you," Chen Lian yawned and said, "It's getting dark. You should go home quickly." "I'm going to bed." "Chen Lian. We're all like this. Why don't you tell me? Who knows if you are a honey trap? You bastard. Hold head high." Li Fujian left angrily and slammed the door loudly, but Chen Lian didn't react at all. It was impossible to tell her now anyway. Chen Lian would not believe such a woman who was influenced by capital so easily. How big is the market for MP3? In the future, there will be MP4, mobile phones, and the internet. Chen Lian didn't say much to his second uncle, Xiao Lin Muo, so how could he possibly tell Li Fujian? "Let's wait until she passes the inspection period." Chen Lian yawned and fell asleep wrapped in a quilt. Li Fujian, who returned home on the other side, was stopped by Li Yingxin before he reached the room. "Yin Xian, why haven't you rested yet? Li Yingxin looked at Li Fujian and hesitated for a moment and said, "Sister, I have something to ask you. Can you come to my room?" "What's going on?" Li Fujian was complaining about Chen Lian in his heart now, and was about to go back to the room to read Chen Lian's information to guess what project he was preparing. Li Yingxin took Li Fujian's hand, shook it a few times and said, "Sister, I'll just waste your time for a while." "All right." Seeing that his sister was acting coquettishly, Li Fujian was relieved, but he couldn't help but think about whether Li Yingxin wanted to ask about something related to Chen Lian. If that was the case, he must take precautions. After arriving at Li Yingxin's room, Li Fujian sat on her big pink bed and asked with a smile, "What do you want to ask me?" Li Yingxin hesitated and said, "Sister, do you and Mr. Chen know each other and have a good relationship?" Li Fujian sighed inwardly and said with the same expression on his face, "Yes, I admire him very much and have been in contact with him recently." "But don't you hate him very much? You also seized his artwork, and he also took action against the group," Li Yingxin immediately said anxiously. During the period when Li Fujian didn't come back, she also ran to find out what happened recently. Status. Li Fujian looked at Li Yingxin and knew that she was really attracted to Chen Lian, so he said seriously, "You are right, but in recent contacts, I found that he is a very good person. I like him very much, and he likes me too." "Like?" Li Yingxin was suddenly stunned and sat there not knowing what to say. Li Fujian took Li Yingxin's hand and said, "It's just that he annoyed my father before he was Chinese, so I can only maintain a secret relationship with him. Yin Xin, you are my best sister, you will keep it a secret for me." But Li Yingxin opened her mouth and suddenly understood her feelings in a confused heart, but she couldn't express them. It was already too late. Li Yingxin looked at Li Fujian and suddenly noticed a small red mark on her neck under her turtleneck sweater. Even if Li Yingxin didn't understand it, she understood it at this time. Li Fujian has been with Chen Lian from the afternoon until now. They are really together, and they even did that kind of thing. Li Yingxin suddenly felt a flash of regret in her heart. If she hadn't left at that time, would she be the person in the afternoon? Li Fujian pulled up his sweater calmly, looked at the frustrated Li Yingxin, patted her hand and said, "Yingxin, help sister keep it a secret. This is our little secret. Sister is going back first. You should rest early." Li Fujian left, and Li Yingxin still sat there, feeling like a fool. If he could have fought against his sister and prevented her from having a conflict with Chen Lian, none of the following things would have happened. If I had taken the initiative and helped Chen Lian fight for it, would everything be different now? But there is no what if in life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 376. Chapter 364-363. If you can, hide for the rest of your life. South Korea's financial market has stabilized. This stability was formed after South Korea completely gave up its resistance. Everyone knows that it won't be long before the financial crisis sweeping South Korea is over, and Wall Street's harvest will be over. Everything just needs to wait until March. All the struggles now are in vain. The vast majority of Korean entrepreneurs have only one idea now. When will Wall Street capital come to harvest its own stocks? Even if most of the stocks are lost, at least the company can still be saved. The big companies that are capable are still struggling with Wall Street, while those who are not capable are waiting for death. It was now necessary for Chen Lian to stay. After making a special trip to see Mr. Tang, he chatted with him secretly for more than 2 hours before setting off for Tokyo. The last stop of the tour is finally coming, and Chen Lian now wants to end it quickly and return to China. So many things happened during this tour that Chen Lian felt that he had almost forgotten his true intentions. Didn't I just want to do art and talk about art with beautiful women at the beginning? Why have I become so busy now? When Chen Lian got off the plane from Tokyo, he couldn't help but sneeze and wondered if someone missed him. Who is the one? Mainland China, Xiangjiang, Tokyo, or Paris? Chen Lian tapped his temple, feeling a little overwhelmed. Let's get down to business first, and then I'll say hello to each of them when I'm done. Chen Lian got into the car to pick him up, looked at Fujiwara Norika and asked, "How are you doing lately?" "Very good, just a little busy." Norika Fujiwara leaned on Chen Lian's shoulder and said, "I was worried about you before, but now I feel relieved to see that you are fine." Chen Lian smiled and said, "It's okay. Are you still filming recently?" "I just finished filming a movie. It was thanks to you that I was able to get that role last time, and now I'm participating in a borrowed talent show." Norika Fujiwara hugged Chen Lian's arm and said, "It would be great if you could always be by my side." Chen Lian said nothing and rubbed Fujiwara Norika's head. Compared with getting along with Li Fujian, he still liked Fujiwara Norika like this. At least there is no need to guard against everything, but there is nothing to guard against, and Norika Fujiwara will not inquire about his business affairs. The car did not go to the hotel, but to a courtyard, which Chen Lian had asked Ito Muragi to help him buy. After Japan's real estate bubble burst, housing prices dropped so dramatically that Chen Lian didn't even spend much money. In the indoor hot spring in the courtyard, Norika Fujiwara wiped Chen Lian's back with a towel. Suddenly she hugged him from behind and asked, "Would you like to ask Senior Yasuko Tomita, Noriko Sakai and Hanami Suzuki to come together?" Chen Lian turned to look at Norika Fujiwara with some surprise and asked, "Can you accept it?" "Why not? We are all ornamental fish in your fish tank now." Instead of resisting, "We might as well accept it." Fujiwara Norika sighed and said, "Only now do I know what your fish tank theory means." Chen Lian smiled and said, "I don't think so. I respect you very much. You make the decision in everything. I'm just a guest, right?" Fujiwara Norika curled her lips slightly, wiped Chen Lian's back, gathered her yukata and ran out to make a phone call. Chen Lian leaned against the stone wall and secretly cursed his depravity, but depravity was so happy. There's nothing wrong with it except that it's a little expensive. Light snowflakes were floating in the corridor of the courtyard, red lanterns emitted red light, and people could be vaguely seen in the house. It's just that the figure's posture is a little strange. 4 people were kneeling on the ground trying to save the man lying on the ground. There were many big lights in the room, and Chen Lian felt dazzled, so he could only close his eyes and let them save him. "There are so many toxins, I can't finish them." Yasuko Tomita was defeated and asked her little sisters to continue. "It's urgent to rescue the patient." "I'll do it," Sakai Noriko said softly, looking at Chen Lian's poisoned position and lowering his head. After watching it for a while, Suzuki Hanami took the initiative and said, "I'll be with you." "And I took the initiative to ask you to come. I can't just let you work hard," Fujiwara Norika said immediately. No, it's hard work." Sakai Noriko did not stop moving, raised her eyes and glanced at Fujiwara Norika. "This is a provocation." Fujiwara Norika stood up with a groan, took off the white socks on her feet, and prepared to use her trump card. Suzuki Hanami also showed no sign of weakness. She increased the size of her headlights and shone them back and forth on Chen Lian. For a time, several amateur doctors in the room tried their best and used all kinds of skills. As a patient, Chen Lian seemed to have become the training target of several doctors in the end, but the toxins were excreted many times. Being non-toxic and light, Chen Lian felt that his bones were brittle. Finally, he looked at several doctors who had been tired and fell asleep after working hard all night, and closed their eyes and fell asleep. Early the next morning, when Chen Lian opened his eyes, he saw that the doctors were busy again. It seemed that he had become poisonous again in the morning. It's really hard on them. Chen Lian sighed and waited until he detoxified before getting up and going to the exhibition hall. When Chen Lian came to the exhibition hall, Jifa and Bo Qing had already arranged it. It's just that they all looked a little uninterested. Jifa drank coffee and said, "The damage to Japan's economy is much more serious than I thought. It is estimated that not many people will come to this final exhibition." "It doesn't matter, it's the last one anyway," Chen Lian stretched and said, "it's better to end it quickly. I still have a lot of things to do later." Jifa sighed and said, "If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have arranged the tour. Look at how many troubles you have caused." "But there's a lot to gain, right?" Chen Lian said with a smile. "If the few works left in Paris are auctioned, you should be able to get a lot of profit." "That's true, but the ones on display now are the most valuable." Jifa looked at the works in the display cabinet as if he saw money. Chen Lian smiled and did not disturb Jifa's dream time. He walked up to Bai Qing and said, "You have worked hard during this period. Take a good rest when you go back." Bai Qing looked at Chen Lian's dark circles and said, "Without your hard work, my legs will be weak." Chen Lian, "That's nonsense. How can it be?" The exhibition started soon, and not many people came. However, Ito Muragi came and brought many Japanese artists with him. They are all very interested in Chen Lian's work this time, and what kind of sparks will be produced by combining traditional craftsmanship with modern art. Both modern art and traditional art in Japan have encountered bottlenecks. Chen Lian's works this time are like giving them reference answers. Many artists have been inspired by Chen Lian's works. Ito Muragi praised Chen Lian several times before saying, "It would be great if these works of yours were exhibited during the Sino-Japanese cultural and artistic exchanges." "I'll have a chance next time," Chen Lian said with a smile. "It's different. Now that I see your work, I always feel that the last communication was incomplete. Incompleteness is also a kind of beauty, isn't it?" After Ito Muragi chatted with Chen Lian for a while, he said goodbye. He also wanted to go beg for alms. As a curator, the most important thing is to help those artists find sponsorship and hold exhibitions. It is difficult to find local sponsors. Ito Muragi can only look for sponsors internationally. He must promote Japanese modern art. We can't expect Chen Lian, a Chinese, to be anything other than a Chinese. Most of the visitors who came to the exhibition in the next few days were Japanese artists, including traditional artists and modern artists, and most of them were young people who were still in school. When Chen Lian's works were in Europe and America, they were novel to tourists, but it was different in Tokyo. With the same culture and the same art form, Japanese artists can better understand Chen Lian's works. Many young people regard Chen Lian's works as textbooks. They come here almost every day to write and draw on Chen Lian's works with a notebook. For a time, Chen Lian's name once again hit the Japanese art scene, and many people already called Chen Lian the master. Master Chen did not expect that he would be awarded the title of master in Tokyo first. Just like the king of the foreign server, if he returns to the Chinese server, he will probably still struggle in the golden stage. It's not that he is not strong enough, but there are too many things that are holding him back. When artists in China meet Chen Lian, they probably still call him Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen is fine, as long as he doesn't get accused of messing around. Chen Lian is actually worried that some domestic masters will accuse him of ruining traditional art. If you smash someone's job, it would be strange if you don't scold them. The 7-day exhibition in Tokyo ended soon, and Chen Lian had already chartered a flight to go back. In the waiting hall of Tokyo Airport, Chen Lian and Bai Qing were preparing to send her off to board the plane back to Paris. After hugging each other goodbye, Jifa got on the plane and left first. Chen Lian and Bo Qing also returned to China with their people. This time I flew directly to Shanghai and then transferred again in Shanghai. The main reason is that the people in the team come from all over the world, so it is more convenient to be in Shanghai. It's not far from the north and the south, so it's very convenient to take a bus home. After the plane landed in Shanghai, special people came to collect the cultural relics that Chen Lian brought abroad. Chen Lian's works were also brought back to the capital. Bai Qing also said goodbye to Chen Lian and returned to his hometown. Chen Lian, who was alone at home, was not in a hurry to return to the capital. He rested in Shanghai for several days before returning to the capital. I am indeed a little tired during this period and need to take a good rest, otherwise I will not have time to rest when I return to the capital. The capital is already filled with the flavor of the new year. It's only been 2 days since the Chinese New Year, and there are lanterns and colorful lights everywhere. Chen Lian didn't tell anyone when he came back and ran home alone. Otherwise, the situation will happen again, with a bunch of people coming to pick you up. Chen Lian really enjoys being alone now, and he is really a little tired of it during this period. Especially those women who always want to control themselves, or are jealous, which is annoying to death. Chen Lian wants to be clean for a while now. It's still too soft-hearted, otherwise they will have to remember it for a long time. Chen Lian couldn't help but sigh. In the large courtyard at Zushikao, Chen Lian drank mutton soup and chatted with his master. He smelled the smell of gunpowder wafting in from the courtyard and felt very peaceful. Uncle Chi smoked a cigarette and looked at Chen Lian's eyebrows for a while before saying, "It's so embarrassing that he's still injured." Chen Lian said speechlessly, "They pointed a gun at me." "It's still embarrassing." Uncle Chi took a puff of cigarette and said calmly. "Chen Lian, old man, you are old, you may not be able to beat me." However, Chen Lian didn't dare to say it. After chatting with his master for a while, he sat in the room by the fire, sniffling and drawing. In front of Chen Lian's drawing board, there are many photos. Chen Lian obtained information about traditional ethnic costumes from the ministry. Chen Lian also agreed to Bernard's participation in Fashion Week. This time he is going to teach Paris Fashion Week a lesson and show them what Oriental aesthetics is. Fashion is not only about rebellion, traditional beauty is more touching. Chen Lian didn't know much about fashion design. He had studied it for a while before, and his foundation was pretty good. However, it didn't go too deep, which made him more creative. What he drew was more like a colored pencil drawing than a design draft. But it looks really beautiful. The traditional costumes and decorations have been changed a lot by Chen Lian, making it more fashionable and mysterious. When Chen Lian was coloring with colored pencils, the curtain behind him was opened, and a cold voice sounded behind him. "You are good at hiding. If you can hide for the rest of your life." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 378. Chapter 365-364. Meet at 98. Life always surprises you inadvertently, and of course, it gives you more surprises. In the courtyard, several little kids were lying at the door of Chen Lian's house, stretching their heads to look in. The celebrities they usually saw on TV suddenly saw real people. These children were so excited that if they weren't worried about being hung up and beaten by Chen Lian, they would have rushed in one by one. Several adults in the yard also gathered around, eating melon seeds and chatting. "Lian is really amazing. I thought everything in the newspaper was false." "No, who would have thought that Lian would hide her deeply enough when she already has children? Just beat this kid Lian and I'll see." "Don't brag. You used to say that Lian was naughty and would have no future when he grows up." "I was pushing him. Do you understand the push? Come on, who doesn't know how to do things in hindsight?" In the room, Chen Lian looked at the beautifully dressed Gong Li and the little princess in her arms who was babbling with a plush hat and wanted to be hugged by herself. He felt no temper at all. However, Chen Lian had a bad temper among the children who were watching the fun behind the curtain. He waved his hand and said, "Let's play." "Brotherin, is that your daughter, an older child asked with bright eyes. Chen Lian hummed and waved them away. The human cub's milk was so cute that Chen Lian quickly reached out to take it and hold it in his arms. Gong Li looked around, then sat by the bed and said, "Are you going to hide here?" Chen Lian teased the little princess and then said to Gong Li, "What do you mean by hiding? I'm not busy creating." Gong Li glanced at Chen Lian's drawing board, snorted and said, "I can't draw anywhere. You've been back for so long and you haven't come to see the child." Chen Lian didn't say anything, but teased his daughter and said, "Little princess, do you miss daddy? Do you?" "Yeah, I miss you, daddy." The little princess's vague voice made Chen Li's heart melt, and he immediately hugged her little face and kissed her. "This girl is so cute." Gong Li was still angry at first, but she couldn't get angry seeing Chen Lian like this. When the child was tired and fell asleep, she pulled him and asked, "Are you still angry?" Chen Lian sighed and said, "I'm not angry. I'm just too tired recently and want to be quiet." "Now that I know I'm tired, why did I go there earlier?" Gong Li replied, and said tentatively, "How about you get married?" "I won't urge you to get married. If you don't feel tired with so many people, I will feel tired just looking at you." "Sister, we are not the kind of irresponsible people," Chen Lian coughed and said shamelessly. Gong Li couldn't help but patted him and said, "Take responsibility." "What's your responsibility? It's so embarrassing." "Let's not talk about this anymore." Chen Lian changed the topic and asked, "Are you celebrating the New Year in the capital this year? Otherwise, if I bring my child back alone, I won't be gossiped about." Gong Li looked at the New Year's goods bought by Chen Lian in the house and said, "Are you just going to stay here? I celebrate New Year here every year." Chen Lian picked up an orange and put it in front of Gong Li's mouth. After she ate it, he said, "Other places don't have the New Year flavor. Okay, you make the bed, I will stay with you tonight with the child. The conditions are too difficult. You should take your children home. If you don't come back, there's no one in the world who would despise my husband or despise me. Stop talking and pack it up." In the evening, Gong Li helped cook together in the yard. During the meal, she hugged the child and called the uncle and aunt in the yard very affectionately. Uncle Chi was so happy that he was coaxed by Gong Li. He also liked the little princess so much that he smiled so hard that his eyes were gone. After finishing their meal and chatting about the household affairs, and satisfying the gossips of the people in the compound, Chen Lian and Gong Li went back to the house to sleep. In the darkness, Chen Lian held Gong Li in his arms to prevent her from freezing. He warmed her hand and said, "This is actually quite good. Isn't it different from celebrating the New Year at home?" "Well, your hospital is so kind." Gong Li lay on Chen Lian's chest for a while before saying, "Will you celebrate the New Year here next year?" Chen Lian squeezed Gong Li's little hand and said, "Well, as long as this yard is not demolished, I will definitely come back to celebrate the New Year." Gong Li snorted and said, "Then let Myron Chen come next year." Chen Lian said speechlessly, "What's the matter? You still have a duty schedule. She has to come and meet the big guys, and forget about the others. Let's talk about it later. Go to sleep. We have to get up early tomorrow. The Chinese New Year is always full of joy and laughter, and time flies by so fast. It's already the third day of the Lunar New Year in the blink of an eye." Chen Lian couldn't hide from Qingxian anymore. Many people called in advance to wish him New Year's greetings, and Chen Lian himself wanted to wish him New Year's greetings. In the morning, he would pay New Year greetings to others, and in the afternoon, he would wait for others to come to pay New Year greetings. Chen Lian did not stop for the past few days after the New Year, and he was not free until the 6th day of the Lunar New Year. Chen Lian, who was finally free, had time to take a breath when he was called out by another phone call. "What's going on, you two? Even during the Chinese New Year, you won't let anyone stop." Chen Lian looked at Huo Jiankai and Jia Zhang and said. Huo Jiankai was more familiar with Chen Lian, so he said with a smile, "We are here to ask for travel expenses from the boss. I'm afraid you have forgotten that we are going to Berlin." Chen Lian really forgot. He counted the days and then remembered that the Berlin Film Festival will be in 4 days. Flying to Berlin requires a lot of money for air tickets, plus food, clothing, housing, and transportation, which adds up to a lot of money. Chen Lian looked at Huo Jiankai and said, "Lao Huo, you are also the director of a movie with a box office worth tens of millions. You don't have this kind of money. No matter how high the box office is, it doesn't matter to me. I don't get a share." Speaking of this, Huo Jian feels sour. Feng Xiaogang got something wrong this time. Party A and Party B made so much money from this movie. Unlike him, if you make a movie and beg grandpa to sue grandma, you can only get paid. Jiazhank doesn't feel that way. Anyway, his movie has no chance to be released at the box office. He can only hope to sell it at a good price abroad. However, Jiazhank still felt very strapped and embarrassed. Although Xiao Wu's investment was not large and Chen Lian contributed a large amount, he still had no money in his pocket. Chen Lian stopped joking and took out his phone to call Li Dabai and asked her to prepare the money in advance. After making the call, Chen Lian said to them, "Dabai will send it over in a minute. You should all know the process of the film festival. If you have anything you don't understand, please call me." Chen Lian took out a business card from his bag and handed it over and said, "This is Assistant Zhang Guorong's phone number. He is in Berlin now." Huo Jian picked it up and took a look at it and asked, "Zhang Guorong's assistant? He is the judge of this year. Is it okay if we contact his assistant?" Chen Lian waved his hand and said, "It's okay. If you're worried, you can also get closer to the crew of Tianyu. You should be familiar with Chen Chong. Okay, as long as you have acquaintances. This is my first time going abroad." Jiazhank also nodded. This was also his first time going abroad, so he was still a little uneasy. Chen Lian chatted with them for a while, and then Li Dabai sent money over. He also specially exchanged foreign exchange for them. The amount was not large, but it was enough. After the money was delivered, Chen Lian chatted with them for a few words and then left with Li Dabai. Chen Lian originally planned to go home, but he hesitated and asked Dabai to send him to the company. During the Chinese New Year, Chen Lian went to see Beauty Chen once, but this time Beauty Chen was really obedient and stopped acting like a monster. I wonder if it was the last criticism meeting in the villa that made her realize the reality. Speaking of this, Chen Lian is still a little proud of himself. He is young and in good health. There are not many people working in the company at this time, but the advertising department is very busy. There are too many people doing advertising before and after. Chen Lian gave red envelopes to all the employees who came to work early. After receiving a bunch of rainbow farts, he went to Chen Myron's office. When Chen Myron saw Chen Lian come in, she stood up and poured him tea. She was extremely considerate. "Why did you come to the company during the Chinese New Year? Let the people below take care of the advertising department," Chen Lian asked while drinking tea. "I'm afraid that if they don't do well, I won't worry about no one watching." Myron Chen seemed to have remembered something and said to Chen Lian, "Someone is looking for you to film, will you go? You still want investment? You want me to act and you want me to invest?" Chen Lian put down the cup in his hand and asked curiously, "Who is the director?" "Lu Ye, this is the script. It's called Suzhou River. It's interesting. I think you might like it." Chen Lian raised his eyebrows. "Suzhou River, this is Mr. Zhou's official take-off movie. The script is very good." Chen Lian liked the first part very much, and Lu Ye can be regarded as one of the leading ones among the sixth-generation directors. Chen Lian actually likes these people. At least they are sincerely making movies, unlike some other movies where they are just playing around and it doesn't look like anything serious at all. Chen Lian closed the script and asked, "Is Lu Ye in the capital now?" How did I find you? It's not because of you. Who doesn't know that you are rich? Those who make underground movies like to look for you. Chen Myron actually doesn't like this kind of movie. It doesn't make money or fame, and it's easy to be blocked. Chen Lian hummed and said, there is no shortage of investment in commercial films. Life is difficult for independent filmmakers. I'll help them. I don't have much money anyway. To put it lightly, the company has been unable to make ends meet this year. If the advertising department had been struggling, it would have gone bankrupt long ago. Chen Myron couldn't help complaining, the few TV series she invested in have not been sold yet, and the money back from the movies has not been seen. No, I would have concentrated on advertising if I had known earlier. Seeing Mei Chen's worried look, Chen Lian couldn't help laughing. He held her hand and said, the money will be paid back in a few days. When the Berlin Film Festival is over, Lao Huo and Lao Jia should be able to bring back a lot of money. I don't know how much Lao Huo can bring back, but Lao Jia can bring back at least 5 million. Excluding the share given to him, Chen Lian should have no problem getting 3 million. Chen Myron breathed a sigh of relief and said, come on, the movie singer only relied on you and He Qing and Su Qing to get so much box office in China. How much can it sell? Jia Zhang's movie only invested more than 500,000 yuan. And they are all non-professional actors, how can it be filmed? You look down on literary films, don't you? Chen Lian knocked her on the head and said, just wait, these two movies will definitely sell for a good price. I don't believe it. Anyway, the company has no money, so I will ask you for it. Okay, your husband has money, he can have as much money as he wants. Chen Myron's eyes immediately lit up and she looked at Chen Lian and said, do you have 10 million? Why do you want so much money? Chen Lian asked curiously. Chen Myron said excitedly, Li Xiaoping is going to make a TV series. I want to invest in it, but I heard that the investment is quite large. Chen Lian said dumbfounded, didn't you say that movies and TV shows are slow to return money? Why are you investing in TV series again? Chen Myron raised her head and said, but I make a lot of money. Okay, you can talk to me first about how much money is needed. If the company's accounts don't have enough, then ask me for it. Chen Lian didn't take this matter seriously. It was just an investment in a TV series. He didn't know when it would be officially launched. Now Chen Lian invests in TV series or movies, and he really has no idea of making money anymore. Just like acting, it's purely a personal hobby. If you like it, you can act. If you don't like it, don't act. It won't be like in the beginning, where you have to work hard to get a role just to play extreme cold. Chen Lian is very interested in Suzhou River now. He is thinking about when he will meet Luya and introduce Mr. Zhou to him. However, the Chinese New Year has just passed and they are still in Shanghai. If I want to meet, I have to wait for 2 days. After Chen Lian accompanied Chen Myron for 2 days, he returned to the studio. Now it is no longer necessary to hide in the courtyard. The studio is large and convenient for Chen Lian to create. The main reason is that Chen Lian spent a lot of money to find many masters to help him make clothes. The venue is small and not enough. Chen Lian has to meet with several master chefs a day to communicate various details, which is really not convenient at home. Chen Lian now wants to break foreign perceptions of traditional Chinese clothing, and stop thinking only of cheongsams or grey gowns. This time, let them see what it means to have a vast land and abundant resources, and what it means to let 100 flowers bloom. If successful, Chen Lian plans to use the clothes he designs as his first shot at establishing a cultural brand. The previous touring exhibitions were more artistic than commercial and could only be used as benchmarks, not suitable for product launches. Art cannot be mass-produced, but goods can. There are still a few months left in the spring and summer of Paris Fashion Week, which is enough for Chen Lian to show off a complete set of styles from 56 ethnic groups. Paris Fashion Week may be the most inclusive of the four major fashion weeks. Milan and London are both conservative and prefer local designers. New York is too commercial and is not suitable for Chen Lian's traditional and modern style. This is also the reason why Bernard originally invited Chen Lian to participate in Paris Fashion Week. The other three are really not suitable for Chen Lian. There is another very important issue in fashion design, and that is models. Chen Lian doesn't even know a single model. But this is not difficult. We still have the Miss Universe project to work on. When we were in New York, the talks were pretty much done. Now all we have to do is sign the contract and pay the copyright fees. The only troublesome thing about this matter is that Chen Lian can't find the right person to do it. There are no talents around me with experience in organizing large-scale events. It's really frustrating. It seems we can only hire foreign aid. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 379. Chapter 366-365. Your temperament is too strong. The Miss Universe contest is a global event that ends in December every year. It has not been held in China yet, but I must participate this year. It's already February, time is very tight, and Chen Lian can think of only one person who can do this well in such a short period of time. That is Cheng Shifen. Cheng Shifen has held several global concert tours and has also held several large-scale art performances in Hong Kong. She has ample experience in this area. But the only troublesome thing is that Cheng Shifen is currently busy arranging for Zhang Sui's Snow Wolf Lake musical. When receiving a call from Chen Lian, Cheng Shifen said that she needed to think about it. This kind of thing was time-consuming and labor-intensive, and even if she wanted to answer the call, she had to arrange the time. While Cheng Shifen was thinking about it, Chen Lian had already entrusted Jifa to go to New York to sign a contract. The copyright for the Miss Global contest in China would remain with their cultural and art companies, not Chen Lian and Chen Myron's film and television companies. These are two different businesses with different partners and cannot be mixed together. While Chen Lian was busy designing costumes, he was still contacting domestic TV stations. It would be a pity not to sell broadcast rights for this kind of event. In addition, we also need to find sponsors. What a great advertising effect. This kind of competition has not been held in China yet, and the majority of male compatriots must be very interested. Jifa acted very quickly. Within 2 days, news came back that the copyright had been obtained, and Chen Lian officially started promoting it. The specific event time and content of the event are not urgent for the time being. Advertisements need to be put out first and sponsors need to be found quickly. Finding sponsors is actually quite simple. With so many clients at her disposal, Beauty Chen will always find someone suitable. In addition, Leixin Electronics will also be one of the sponsors, so the good news will not go to outsiders. Time rushed to the end of February. Chen Lian was communicating with several old masters in the studio about the production of Miao costumes. Cheng Shifen rushed over after a long journey. Lian, this time I came because of the company's task, Cheng Shifen said with a smile. I didn't expect that you and Jifa quietly took over the copyright of Miss Universe. Chen Lian said with a smile, it's also luck. I happen to know one of the shareholders. Cheng Shifen said with a smile, this is not luck. There are so many people who know them, and some of them can win the copyright. Chen Lian smiled, probably because he didn't know many Chinese people. Cheng Shifen looked at the design drafts and semi-finished clothes in the studio and said, these designs of yours are very interesting. In the Miss Universe contest, contestants can wear clothes designed by you. This is global exposure. The premise is that the contestants from the Chinese division can reach the end. Chen Lian took a sip of tea and said, but these contestants can participate in the Fashion Week in September. Sister Shifen, you have to hurry up. Cheng Shifen nodded and said, although the copyright is in our hands, we still need to find someone to cooperate. We only have the copyright in hand and it is too difficult to run it. We need to find several companies to cooperate with us. Cheng Shifen had done her homework before coming here. She looked at Chen Lian and said, in addition, Xiangjiang and Macau also need to be included in the Chinese competition area. As for Wan, I guess they are not willing, so we need a collaborator from Xiangjiang, and the mainland also needs. Only when there is a collaborator can the three-party cooperation be done well. Chen Lian nodded and said, there should be no more than 4 organizers at most. The mainland is too big, so we need to find someone with strength. I have considered this point. Private enterprises do not have this strength. It is best to find cooperation with TV stations or official media companies. Cheng Shifen thought for a while and said, I will contact several powerful media companies in the mainland and strive for them. It will officially launch in April. Okay, thank you Sister Shifen for your hard work. Chen Lian handed the Miss Universe charter and information faxed by Jifa to Cheng Shifen and said, this is the competition process and charter of other countries. We can refer to it. Cheng Shifen took it and said, no problem, I will lead someone to come up with a specific plan in the next 2 days. Thank you so much. I'm busy designing these clothes every day. I really don't have time to do these things. Chen Lian said with a smile, Sister Shifen, come to my house in the evening, cook for you personally, and treat you to a big meal. Cheng Shifen smiled and said, okay, I want to order some food. No problem, Chen Lian said with a smile. In the afternoon, Chen Lian finished his work early and went home to treat Cheng Shifen to dinner. There were quite a few people coming in the evening, including Bai Qing, and the princess also came over to join in the fun. Chen Lian cooked several extra dishes, and when he came out of the kitchen, Cheng Shifen and the others were already drinking from their wine glasses. The princess took a sip of wine, picked up a piece of fresh fish and said, Lian, I didn't expect your cooking skills to be so good. I thought you only knew Western food. Chen Lian put the soup on the table and said with a smile, Western food is simple. I used to cook it for you for convenience. Today you are taking advantage of Sister Shifen. I don't like hearing this. You will be miserable next time you play mahjong. The princess snorted and decided not to give Chen Lian a black silk blessing next time she plays mahjong. Chen Lian laughed and asked curiously, you are so free today. Don't you have many commercial performances recently? You and neighing are so popular recently. The princess sighed and said, forget it, she's exhausted. Let her play alone. Whoever wants to earn this money can earn it. Jingwen, you will be motivated after you lose a few games of mahjong. Cheng Shifen joked with a smile. The princess snorted and said, the competition in the mainland is very small and boring. You can't lose much if you lose every day. When my brother comes back from Berlin, I will go back to Xiangjiang. Speaking of Leslie Chung, Chen Lian looked at Cheng Shifen and asked, Sister Shifen, has my brother called back? How many Chinese language films are among the award-winning films this time? Cheng Shifen shook her head and said, I didn't ask. Today seems to be the award ceremony. I'll read the newspaper tomorrow. Chen Lian couldn't wait for tomorrow, so he immediately took out his phone and called Zhang Guorong. He was curious whether Jiazhang only won a small prize this time when he had sufficient funds. The phone was quickly connected, and Zhang Guorong's voice came over even before he woke up. Why are you calling me so late? Zhang Guorong asked in a hoarse voice. Chen Lian immediately asked, have the results of the Berlin Film Festival come out? How many domestic films have won awards? There's not even one. I'll hang up if nothing happens. I'm so sleepy. After saying that, there was a busy signal of hanging up on the other end of the phone. Chen Lian couldn't help but smacked his mouth. It didn't mean anything at all. Did Xiao Wu not win the award due to his interference? It doesn't make sense. He has seen the movie and it's no worse than the original one. Chen Lian suddenly realized something. Zhang Guorong might be talking about the main competition unit, and Xiao Wu was not shortlisted for the main competition unit. This is not surprising. Chen Lian breathed a sigh of relief and thought about calling Jia Zhang early tomorrow morning to ask about the situation. After the awards ceremony, it's time for a lot of movie deals, and there should be a lot of good news tomorrow. After dinner in the evening, after Chen Lian saw off Cheng Shifen and the princess, he went upstairs and came back when Bai Qing was washing dishes in the kitchen. Chen Lian walked over and said, "Just leave it there. Auntie will come over tomorrow to clean it up." "It looks uncomfortable," Bai Qing replied calmly. "Okay, then I'll join you." Chen Lian also went over to wash the dishes. Halfway through the washing, he suddenly asked, "Did Ji Fa invite you to the auction?" "Yes," Bai Qing said without raising his head, "I have finished the family series of paintings, and Ji Fa wants to auction one." Chen Lian nodded and said, "That's just right. If you go to participate, I won't go. You can watch and deal with those previous works." "Well, but are you really willing to take pictures of your Inferno 3? Bai Qing took off his gloves, lit a cigarette, leaned against the refrigerator and looked at Chen Lian and said, "If Inspire number 3 is collected by someone, this series will not complete." Chen Lian smiled and said, "I told Ji Fa that it will only be sold to museums. Inspire number 3 should be seen by more people." Bai Qing nodded without saying anything. Anti-war themed works should indeed be seen by more people. After a while, Bai Qing said, "After you are busy with fashion matters, take some time off. I have an idea that I need you to participate in." Chen Lian wiped his hands and said, "Okay, when?" "In June, I'm still thinking about it." "No problem. June is still early, and Chen Lian should be able to design all the fashions before then." Busy, Chen Lian feels that he is getting busier and busier, but fortunately there are so many people helping him, otherwise he would be really busy. As soon as Chen Lian got up early the next morning, he received a call from Jia Zhang. Xiao Wu won the award, 2 awards in total. The NetPek Asian Film Promotion Alliance Award also has the first prize of the Youth Forum, the Wolfgang Stade Award. There is no change from the original, but these 2 awards are not bad. For a new director like Jia Zhang, it is already a very good result. After all, not everyone is a naturally chosen director like Zhang Yimou, who can win a big award for his first film and then be rewarded with mercy. After Chen Lian congratulated Jia Zhang on the phone, he chatted with him about overseas copyrights and then hung up. Now several film producers have approached Jia Zhang, and the prices they offer are all good. The specific choice depends on who offers the higher price. Singer was also picked up by several film producers during the screening. Although it failed to participate in the selection of the Berlin Film Festival, the quality of the film itself is good, and with the addition of Chen Lian as the male protagonist, many people are interested. However, Huo Jiankai was a bit conflicted. He also wanted to find a powerful film studio to promote the film globally, and he also wanted to make more money from the film. Chen Lian didn't give him any advice, it was up to him to make his own decision. After all, he was the director, so he could just decide on his own whether he wanted fame or fortune. Huo Jiankai and Jia Zhang would stay in Berlin for a few more days. Chen Lian did not urge them to come back and turned around to go about his own business. After Chen Lian was busy in the studio for the next few days, Chen Myron called, saying that Lu Ye came to the company and wanted to see him. Chen Lian and Chen Myron made an appointment and left after finishing what they were doing. The first time he saw Lu Ye, Chen Lian felt that he had a sense of decadence and vicissitudes of life. Different from Wang Xiao's Huai, who is shrewd, and different from Jia Zhang, who is introverted, he is a very individual person. After Chen Lian greeted Lu Ye and sat down, he said with a smile, "Director Lu, it's been a while since I received your notebook. I didn't expect to see you for so long." Lu Ye smiled awkwardly and said, "Some things have been delayed recently. I'm really sorry." Chen Lian smiled and said, It's okay. Let's talk about investment first or casting first. I like this script very much and this role is also very good. Luya coughed and said, let's talk about the character first. I showed the script to Jia Hongsheng before, and he also liked this character quite a lot. In fact, he was the one I wanted to find at the beginning. Luya was quite magnanimous and talked about this matter first. It would be a bit unkind to talk about investment first and then casting. After hearing this, Chen Lian smiled and said, so Director Lu is planning to use Jia Hongsheng. No, I haven't thought about it yet. His mental state is not very stable. I'm a little worried, Luya said bluntly. Your acting skills are very good, but your temperament is too strong. If you can be weaker, I will definitely choose you. Chen Lian couldn't help but laugh and said, my temperament is too strong? You can't confuse reality with movies. I didn't have strong characters in my previous movies, right? Luya organized his words and said, you have a lot of scandals, and there are a lot of news recently. Your temperament is different from before. Before I came here, I didn't think it was a big problem, but after meeting you, I felt too strong. You can't hide your edge anymore. Chen Lian frowned and was silent for a while, then said to Luya, wait for me for a while, I will adjust my state, and you can take a look again. Luya nodded and said, okay, let's just treat it as a trial. Chen Lian stood up and paced back and forth in the office, constantly constructing the character image in his mind and immersing himself in that feeling. Forget yourself, forget what you experienced abroad, forget your own success, forget your good sisters, forget everything, and let yourself become a motor. As Chen Lian paced, the sharp feeling in his body slowly disappeared, and the original sharpness gradually disappeared in Chen Lian's eyes, slowly fitting in with the motor in the script. Luya's eyes gradually lit up as he watched this scene, and Chen Lian felt surprised. Many actors have a certain status and money after becoming famous, and it is difficult for them to play roles that are not consistent with themselves. Mata in the script and Chen Lian in reality are completely different, whether it is identity or personality. Now Luya sees the shadow of Mata in Chen Lian, and they are becoming more and more similar. The feeling of confusion and emptiness was exactly what Luya wanted. After Chen Lian adjusted his condition, he sat opposite Luya and lowered his hands naturally. He looked at him with confusion and probing eyes, but there was excitement and surprise hidden deep in his eyes. I'm looking for someone named Peony. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 380. Chapter 367-366. Urgent Chen Lian. In the quiet office, Luya and Chen Lian chatted happily, and Chen Lian still won the role of Mata. In fact, he didn't know whether Luya agreed because he wanted to invest, or because his performance just now was really good. But there is no difference. Chen Lian is confident that he can play this role well. To do something, either don't do it or do it well. Chen Lian looked at Luya and asked, is there a suitable candidate for the heroine now? Luya pondered for a moment and said, yes, there is a sophomore student from Nortel who is pretty good. Do you know the swallow in the East Palace and the West Palace? Yanzi? Is she suitable? Chen Lian always thinks of Qianyao when he thinks of Yanzi, and always feels that she is incompatible with literary films. However, Yanzi did act in a few pretty good movies before he was admitted to Nortel, and he was quite capable, and his performance in East Palace and West Palace was also good. Luya said helplessly, there are not many suitable people. Because I was worried about investment, many famous actors were not within my consideration range. Chen Lian nodded and said, what do you think of Mr. Zhou? You should have seen her movies. Whether it's Shui in Red River Valley or Yang Yang in Little Wife, They are very distinctive. By the way, I will take you to see them. A movie? Luya asked curiously, what movie? You know that Jia Zhang Xiaowu won an award in Berlin, Chen Lian explained, then took out the disc and put it into the VCD. Luya nodded suddenly. He saw the news in the newspaper and saw that Mr. Zhou was the heroine. A picture soon appeared on the TV, and the grainy picture of the shaky lens immediately attracted Luya's attention. Chen Lian also sat next to him and watched with Luya for a while before going out. He wanted to show Luya the movie of Mr. Zhou. He might as well call Mr. Zhou over. Maybe it would be better to chat after meeting. Mr. Zhou was sleeping at home when she received Chen Lian's call. She had just returned from Berlin and was still jet-lagged. Why are you looking for me? Mr. Zhou's voice was muffled, as if he had a cold. Chen Lian asked with concern, are you sick? I don't know. Mr. Zhou got out of the quilt and touched his forehead and said, dizzy, my head is a little hot, maybe I have a fever. Then you wait for me at home. I'll go over right away and get some sleep first. Mr. Zhou rubbed his nose and sighed, then covered himself with a quilt and fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already dark outside. Mr. Zhou sat up and smelled the aroma wafting in from outside the bedroom. After sleeping all day, she was already so hungry that she couldn't help but wrap herself up in quilt and jump out. When he came to the kitchen door, he saw Chen Lian wearing a black turtleneck sweater and making soup. Mr. Zhou looked at Chen Lian, who was wearing a black sweater, and his mind was still a little dazed. He remembered the winter when he first met Chen Lian. At that time, Chen Lian led him to rent a house and then decorated the house together. In the hot kitchen, Chen Lian tasted the beef soup in the pot. It was full of flavor and the beef was rotten. This pot of beef soup was very good. Chen Lian nodded with satisfaction. As soon as he put down the spoon, the kitchen door opened. Like a little squirrel, Mr. Zhou came up to Chen Lian wrapped in quilt and said coquettishly, it smells so good, I'm so hungry. You're awake. Chen Lian reached out and touched Mr. Zhou's forehead, and said with a smile, the fever is gone. It's time for dinner. You go to the restaurant and wait for me. Mr. Zhou was wrapped in quilt with only one head exposed, and he nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. After a while, Chen Lian brought out the prepared meals. Mr. Zhou sat at the dining table like a hackamai waiting for the meal to be served. As soon as the soup was placed in front of her, she couldn't help but want to pick it up and drink it. Chen Lian quickly stopped and said, it's too hot. Let's cool down. Then just feed me and help me cool down. Mr. Zhou turned sideways to face Chen Lian and put his cold feet into Chen Lian's arms. Chen Lian rubbed her head lovingly and said, okay, I'll feed you like a child. I am a patient, and this is special treatment for patients. Yes, yes, I am your male caregiver. After Chen Lian fed Mr. Zhou half a bowl of soup, he stopped giving it to her. He wanted to eat some food first so that he could recover quickly. While Mr. Zhou was enjoying Chen Lian's feeding, he asked curiously, you said you are very busy these days. How come you have time to call me today? Chen Lian put a piece of soft beef into Mr. Zhou's mouth and said, there is a movie that I think is pretty good, so I would like to recommend you to act in it. Then you act. Are you happy that we can act together again? Happy. I want to eat an extra bowl of rice. Eat small meals frequently. Eating too much will overload the stomach and intestines. Young Master Zhou began to sweat on her forehead. Chen Lian wiped the sweat from her head and said, okay, go back and sleep again and you will be completely healed. Mr. Zhou opened his hand and said, take me back, I want to sleep with you. Then you have to be more honest, Chen Lian warned. Mr. Zhou blinked his big innocent eyes and said, I'm very honest. Chen Lian snorted and said, what are you doing with your feet? Are you being honest? I'm just going to cover my feet, Mr. Zhou said, shrinking his neck. When you get better, I'll let you cover yourself up, Chen Lian said, picking her up along Mr. Joe's legs and heading towards the bedroom. In the heated bedroom, Mr. Joe snuggled into Chen Lian's arms and said, "Didn't you tell me to be honest? Why are you not being honest? It hurts me. It's so hot." Chen Lian put his arm around Mr. Joe's hand and squeezed her, saying, "What nonsense are you talking about? That's a hot water bottle." "Oh, the hot water bottle is so hard. Dot. Go to sleep, don't think so much." Early the next morning, Chen Lian was sleeping soundly. Mr. Joe, who woke up early, pinched his nose and teased the little elephant's trunk. Chen Lian opened his eyes and looked at Mr. Joe's bright smile and couldn't help but rub her face. "You're awake." Mr. Joe kissed Chen Lian on the face, then said with a wicked smile, "Why is your hot water bottle still so hot?" Chen Lian rolled his eyes at her and said, "The quality is good." "No, I want to check it." "What if it explodes because of the heat?" Mr. Joe said and got into the quilt. Chen Lian, "It's easy to explode if you check like this." Mr. Joe is a bold man and is not afraid that the hot water bottle will explode. He changed the inspection method and it took nearly an hour to finish. Mr. Joe wiped the hot water bottle and said to Chen Lian, "Not bad, the quality is indeed very good." Haha. Chen Lian snorted twice in protest and got up after resting for a while. "I have to meet Luya today." It was really not polite to leave in the middle of the conversation yesterday. On the way to the company with Mr. Joe, Chen Lian asked, "Do you want to arrange an agent for you? You are somewhat famous now. I will be filming dramas with you in the future. It will be much easier to have someone to help you. Besides, if there is a suitable one, just look for it, just let it happen." Mr. Joe said nonchalantly, subconsciously thinking that Chen Lian was here and there would be no shortage of resources, so why worry? "Okay, whatever you want." After arriving at the company, Luya had already arrived. When he saw Chen Lian walking over with Mr. Joe, his eyes suddenly brightened. The state when Mr. Joe and Chen Lian are together is very similar to how Peony feels about Mata in the script, a kind of unconditional trust and dependence. Luya watched Mr. Joe's role in Xiao Wulai yesterday and felt that she was very similar to Mai Mei in the script. Now that she sees how similar Mr. Joe is to Mudan outside the movie, she has the same feeling in her heart. Those two roles seem to be tailor-made for Mr. Joe. The three of them sat down and chatted for a while before Luya decided to cast young Master Joe. Young Master Joe was a little surprised. This was the first time she had won a role so quickly and easily. There was no surprise for Chen Lian. Mr. Joe was like a piece of gold. In the past 2 years, he could hardly cover up his own shine. Luya was not stupid, so he could naturally see how suitable this piece of gold was for his movie. With the 2 leading actors cast and investment secured, Luya suddenly had no worries anymore. The only worry was when to start filming. Chen Lian said apologetically, "I won't have time until June or July." "When is June?" Luya asked, counting the days. Chen Lian thought for a while and said, "Let's wait until June. The main reason is that he still doesn't know how Bai Qing's idea is going, and he's not sure whether he can finish it in June." Luya thought for a moment and said, "It's almost time, and there are a lot of things that need to be prepared in the early stage." Mr. Joe didn't have many arrangements, so he said, "I can do anything. I have only had a supporting role in one movie recently." Luya nodded and said, "That's good, this matter is settled. Okay, I hope we can have a pleasant cooperation in the future. Happy to work with." After the cooperation with Luya was finalized, Chen Lian was not idle. He was still busy on the fashion side, and he also had to meet with Cheng Shifen from time to time on the Miss Universe pageant. The competition plan and organizational charter have been finalized, and the partners have also been decided. It is China Television Media, which is a media company under CCTV. Xiangzhang has also reached cooperation with TVB. Xiangzhang has rich experience in organizing beauty pageants, and Cheng Shifen also brought a lot of manpower from Xiangjiang. At this time, Chen Lian and Cheng Shifen were sitting together to discuss specific divisional competitions and sponsor selections. The mainland is divided into 5 regions. Macau and Xiangjiang have separate divisions, and the finals are in Shenzhen. Cheng Shifen rubbed her temples and said, 10 people from each division are selected to participate in the finals. The champion is the representative of the Chinese region participating in the world competition. Chen Lian nodded and said, okay, do you want to start promoting it now? It hasn't officially started yet. Let's finalize the sponsors first. Cheng Shifen took out more than 20 alternative sponsor brands and said, fashion and beauty brands are the most popular, there are also 2 red wine brands and 3 jewelry brands, and other types of brands. I suggest you simply ignore the sponsors. Chen Lian looked at the information and said, no problem, for the first time, the selection of sponsors must be more precise. Only with the advertising effect can we attract more sponsors. Well, I think so too. Now it's a matter of sponsorship fees. How to set this standard? According to CCTV's bidding model, the one with the highest bid will win. Chen Lian said with a smile, we will conduct a screening first, and then the remaining sponsors will gather together to bid. Cheng Shifen nodded and said, that's fine, it's the simplest and most direct. Cheng Shifen closed the document and said, basically, that's all. After the sponsor is finalized, comprehensive publicity will begin in April. May to June will be the primary election, June will be divided into divisions, the finals will be participated in July, and the official event will be held in August. Finish. What about the judges? The judges of the sub-competition areas and the judges of the finals. Chen Lian looked at Chen Shifen and warned, it must be open and transparent, don't let people in casually, don't play with hidden rules, this is the mainland, not Hong Kong, be sure to pay attention to the impact. Cheng Shifen nodded and said, I know, as for the judges, I will invite some Miss Xiangjiang and international supermodels, and the mainland will also choose some celebrities, such as you. As for the unspoken rules, I will pay attention to them, and I will also keep an eye on them in Hong Kong and Macau. There must be no negative news in the first session. Chen Lian hummed and said, this is best. Okay, that's it for today. I have a headache when I see these documents. I need to have a good rest tonight, Cheng Shifen said tiredly while leaning on the sofa. Chen Lian said with a smile, Sister Shifen is working so hard, I will show you tonight and cook you a steak dinner. You said Western food is easy, you just want to be lazy, Cheng Shifen said jokingly. Chen Lian shouted that he was wronged and said, no, Western food is more to your taste. Whatever you say makes sense, Cheng Shifen joked with a smile. To be honest, just sit back and wait. After seeing off Cheng Shifen in the evening, Chen Lian also went back a little tired to get ready for bed. During this period of time, Chen Lian was busy designing clothes every day, and he hardly had any good sleep. There were so many messy things in between, and he was so busy. The only good news during this period is that several TV series have been sold. Chen Myron is no longer chasing Chen Lian for money, mainly because she hasn't come back from Wanwan. The company's accounts are extraordinarily sufficient. Although Huanzu is only sold to Wanwan for CTV's first broadcast, the price is still good. Once Wanwan finishes broadcasting in the mainland, the price will be much easier to negotiate. I just don't know if this version of Return of the Pearl can become a phenomenon-level TV series. Chen Lian is actually quite unsure. Chen Zihan's version of Crepe Myrtle is much prettier than Lin Xinruo's. Fan Bingbing's Little Swallow is also pretty good, full of aura, but not as naughty as the swallow, but there is still a difference in feeling. However, Chen Lian has watched a few episodes and found that there are still plenty of jokes. It is very different from traditional historical dramas. It is completely the template of a bloody comedy. Even if it is not as good as the original version, it will not be far behind. There are no TV series of this type in the mainland market yet. As the first person to try it out, no matter how bad the results are, it won't be any worse. On the other side of the capital, Chen Zihan is extremely nervous now. Huanzu will be broadcast in Wanwan in 2 days, and she is very worried that she will follow in Zhang Qingqing's footsteps. The Qianyao drama starring Zhang Qingqing has already crashed without even making a splash. Zhang Qingqing has been extremely depressed recently, and she still signed a contract with Qianyao. She really regrets it. Are you very happy that I'm not famous? Zhang Qingqing looked at Chen Zihan and asked. Chen Zihan was stunned for a moment and said, "No, I'm so nervous myself that I don't have time to laugh at you." "You really want to laugh at me?" Zhang Qingqing immediately rushed over and pressed Chen Zihan under her body and said, "You are playing, I must make you look good tonight." Unable to move, Chen Zihan immediately called for help. "Bing bing. Help, come and save me. Come on, come on." Fan Bingbing rushed over wearing furry pajamas. 3 women and 1 drama, but no one saw this somewhat erotic drama. After September 8 came, Chen Lian felt an inexplicable sense of urgency in his heart. It was a strange feeling, as if the gears of fate were speeding up, as if everyone would disappear tomorrow. Chen Lian didn't know where his feeling came from. It wasn't until he received a call from Li Fuzhen that he realized that he had forgotten about the MP3 these days. Li Fuzhen has now arrived in Guangdong and officially entered Samsung China's branch. "Now I want to meet Chen Lian and talk about cooperation." Chen Lian really doesn't have time to fly over now. Even if he had time, Chen Lian would not fly over to meet Li Fuzhen. MP3 has not yet been successfully developed and is still stuck in the most critical step. Now and in the past, he couldn't tell Li Fuzhen what his project was. Leixin is still too weak now. It took several months to develop an MP3 player. If it were replaced by Samsung, it is estimated that it would be successfully developed in at most 2 months. In terms of technology reserves and talent reserves, the gap between the two is as wide as a galaxy. I don't know how many years it will take to catch up. Chen Lian rejected Li Fuzhen's invitation to meet on the phone, which made Li Fuzhen angry, but more suspicious of what Chen Lian was doing. "I'm really curious about the project Chen Lian mentioned. What kind of project would make Chen Lian cover it up so tightly?" After Li Fuzhen got familiar with the Samsung branch, he started looking for people to inquire about Leixin VCD. Samsung's branch also makes VCDs, but its sales in the Chinese market are completely outperformed by Flixin. Samsung entered China a little late. Flixin has become the leader in this industry, and it is too difficult to surpass it. Soon someone sent Li Fuzhen detailed information about Leixin, even the most confidential sales and cost data, as well as the development progress of the next generation product. Li Fuzhen flipped through the information for a long time and still couldn't figure out what Chen Lian was doing. If it is the next generation of VCD, there is no need to hide it. There is no big innovation, and there is no need to spend time on innovation. Li Fuzhen put down the documents and looked at his secretary and asked, "Besides these, is there any other news from Leixin?" Secretary Li Fuzhen is a Chinese who has been working in the branch for more than a year and has been responsible for collecting this information. He thought for a while and said, "I heard before that there are /U0026D team received a large bonus." Li Fuzhen's eyes lit up and he immediately asked, "What time?" "At the end of December last year." The corners of Li Fuzhen's lips curled up slightly, and he had an idea in his mind. He said to his secretary, "Go and help me investigate what projects they are developing. This is too difficult. I have inquired about it before, but this project is highly confidential. Then you go and investigate whether they have recently purchased any materials that are not required for VCD and then make assumptions." "Okay, I'll go now." After the secretary left, Li Fuzhen knocked on the table and said to himself, "Chen Lian, I can find out even if you don't tell me." Chen Lian didn't know yet that he was about to be unmasked. He was currently working overtime and busy with work in the capital, and was planning to take the time to fly to Shenzhen to follow up on the progress of MP3 development. In the film and television company, Chen Lian looked at Chen Zihan, whom he hadn't seen for a long time, and asked with confusion, "What's wrong with your neck?" Chen Zihan subconsciously touched the red mark on his neck, pursed his lips and said aggrievedly, "Zhang Qingqing bit it." Chen Lian frowned, stretched out his hand to press her collar, took a look and said, "Why did she bite you? Does it hurt? She is sick. She took it out on me when her TV series was not popular." Bing Bing was also spanked by her. Chen Zihan took the opportunity to complain and said angrily, "You have to help me take out my anger." Chen Lian couldn't help laughing, turned to look at the blushing Fan Bing Bing, rubbed Chen Zihan's head and said, "Okay, I'll help you get revenge later. I'll go to your place tonight. Okay. You hold her down for me, and I will bite her back," Chen Zihan said fiercely. "No problem." Chen Lian replied and got down to business. He handed a document to Chen Zihan and Fan Bingbing and said, "Mr. Chen hasn't come back from Wanwan recently. The contract just sent requires you to go to Wanwan to promote it." "Is it just me and Bingbing?" Chen Zihan asked excitedly, as he had not been to Wanwan yet. "Everyone from the crew will go, it will take about a week." Chen Lian looked at Fan Bingbing and said, "By the way, Bingbing, if your family is worried, you can ask your parents to accompany you, and the company will reimburse the round-trip expenses." Fan Bingbing said immediately, "It's okay. I can do it alone. I'm not a child anymore." Chen Lian raised his eyebrows and said, "Okay, then you can follow your sister Zihan and let her take care of you." Chen Zihan and Fan Bingbing looked at each other, with a strange emotion flashing in their eyes. They had been taking care of each other for a long time. "Zihan, you usually lead more troops. This time you go to Wanwan and treat it as a trip," Chen Lian warned Chen Zihan again. He always felt that Chen Zihan was a person who needed to be taken care of. Chen Zihan immediately agreed, "I promise to take good care of him and not separate him when he sleeps." "Sister Zihan," Fan Bingbing pulled Chen Zihan's arm in shame. Chen Lian looked at them strangely, always feeling that the scene seemed familiar, but he couldn't remember it for a while. "I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's go to Chen Zihan's place to ask again in the evening. We also need to educate Zhang Qingqing not to bully others all the time. After all, we are good sisters who fight together. Tonight, the sisters must get back together and fight together. It's only 6,000 today. I had a little extra rest on Sunday, so I didn't write so much. Dear adoptive fathers, please forgive me." Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 382. Chapter 368-367. The way of Neptune lies in balance. When night was about to fall, Chen Lian took Chen Zihan out of the company. Chen Zihan and Fan Bingbing were whispering behind Chen Lian. "Teacher Chen is gone, what should I do?" Fan Bingbing asked in a low voice. Chen Zihan smiled evilly and said, "Join in." "Sister Zihan, you are going to die." Fan Bingbing was so embarrassed that he couldn't help pinching Chen Zihan. Chen Zihan said while dodging Fan Bingbing's attack, "Haha, didn't you say you were curious?" "Stop talking." Fan Bingbing blushed and glanced at Chen Lian, so embarrassed that he wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl in. Chen Lian walked in front and pretended not to hear anything, but when he got in the car, he turned around and asked, "Bingbing, you live in the company's apartment, right? Do you want to send you back first?" "No, she and I." Before Chen Zihan finished speaking, Fan Bingbing covered his mouth, looked at Chen Lian and said, "Okay, please, Teacher Chen." Chen Zihan couldn't help but snorted and whispered in Fan Bingbing's ear, "If you don't seize this opportunity, there will be no chance in the future. He is so busy now that he can't find anyone." "That's not necessary," I'm still young, Fan Bingbing said softly. When Chen Zihan saw that Chen Lian had gotten on the bus, he felt that he couldn't see here, so he pinched Fan Bingbing and said, "You are still young, you are almost older than me." Ah! Sister Zihan, Fan Bingbing blushed with embarrassment and completely broke his guard. Sitting in the car, Chen Lian withdrew his gaze and couldn't help but mutter, "What a talent, you're only 17 years old." Fan Bingbing and Chen Zihan were arguing outside the car for a while before getting in the car. Chen Lian first sent Fan Bingbing to the apartment and then left with Chen Zihan. Fan Bingbing stood downstairs in the apartment and watched the car leave. He couldn't help biting his lip. He was actually quite curious, but he was too young now. If he took the initiative, he would definitely be regarded as a bad guy by Teacher Chen. Girls. In the speeding car, Chen Zihan hugged Chen Lian and asked softly, "What do you think of Bing Bing?" "What's going on?" Chen Lian looked at Chen Zihan strangely. Chen Zihan said coquettishly, "I'm asking you if you think she is pretty. It's good looking. If you don't look good, you won't be able to make a living in this industry, and your acting skills are not bad." Chen Lian touched his chin and said, "If I practice hard in the future, I will definitely become popular." Chen Zihan said oh, rolled his eyes and said, "Then do you like her?" "I like it. I don't like making money for me," Chen Lian said, deliberately pretending to be stupid. "You pretend not to understand, right?" Chen Zihan was tired of being in Chen Lian's arms and couldn't help but pinch him and said, "I heard Bing Bing say that you gave her your business card the first time you met her." "I've only given out a few business cards until now." Chen Lian coughed awkwardly and said, "You two have such a good relationship, you even know this. You're a duplicitous man. If you hadn't sent her back just now, you wouldn't have had a chance." "Hey, I won't do that kind of thing. You know me. It has always been my rule to do what you want and not break the law." "Pretend, keep pretending, have you and been together for a long time?" "Slander. Pure slander." Chen Zihan snorted and was too lazy to expose Chen Lian. "Men are like this. Sometimes their mouths are harder than that. Disobedient, disobedient." Chen Lian decided to teach Chen Zihan a lesson tonight. Let her know what the master's mission is. It was the first time for Chen Lian to come to Chen Zihan and Zhang Qingqing's villa. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Zhang Qingqing wearing striped pajamas and unkempt lying on the sofa watching TV. Zhang Qingqing was lying on the sofa, her legs dangling on the back of the sofa. The cotton socks on her feet were still cartoon-like, which looked quite cute. It's just that the messy chicken coop hairstyle really makes people laugh, and there is still the usual princess look there. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Zhang Qingqing scratched her hair without any intention of looking back. She just thought it was Chen Zihan who was back. But when her foot was grabbed by a big hand, she realized what she was doing and turned around to see Chen Lian looking at her with a smile. "Why are you here?" Zhang Qingqing immediately retracted her feet, suddenly realized her current situation, screamed and ran away. Halfway through the run, Zhang Qingqing looked back at the triumphant Chen Zihan and shouted angrily, "Chen Zihan, I'm not done with you. Go wash your hair." "Sloppy woman," Chen Zihan made a face at her, and then whispered to Chen Lian, "Don't look at how glamorous she looks outside, but she is actually quite sloppy." Chen Lian, all women at home seem to be like this. Chen Lian originally thought that he had seen both sides of Zhang Qingqing, but now he realizes that there are all kinds of things he has never seen before. You must develop it more at night to see how many faces she has. But Zhang Qingqing is indeed quite cute like this, with a contrasting cuteness. Chen Zihan was so proud now that he deliberately stuck to Chen Lian and said bad things about Zhang Qingqing, saying that he usually threw clothes and socks around at home and didn't clean the house. Chen Lian laughed as he listened, feeling that the two sisters were quite interesting, a bit like they were in love and killing each other. Chen Zihan deliberately showed off her well-groomed appearance in front of Chen Lian, twisted her waist and said, Now you know who is the little princess. Some people are just superficial. Chen Lian looked at Chen Zihan, who was deliberately exuding charm, grabbed her hand and pulled her into his arms, pinched her chin and said, "I don't like the arrogant little princess, I prefer the way you beg for mercy." Chen Zihan hugged Chen Lian's waist and said, "Are you begging for mercy?" "I can." Chen Zihan whispered something begging for mercy into Chen Lian's ear, which immediately made Chen Lian unable to control himself. "Ignore Zhang Qingqing, deal with Chen Zihan first, and then go and avenge Chen Zihan later." After a while, Zhang Qingqing washed her hair, put on a sexy nightgown and went downstairs. When she was in the room, she heard the noise coming from downstairs, and she couldn't help it. "He ran down here without even drying his hair. We can't let Chen Zihan secretly eat chicken alone." As soon as Zhang Qingqing walked downstairs, she saw the spring light in the living room, and the nightgown on her body automatically slipped off. Sometimes, you really wear the equipment after you take off the equipment. The exciting battlefield begins. The loser calls daddy. "No grabbing. I can eat them all, can you?" I hum. Seeing the two sisters arguing endlessly, Chen Lian had no choice but to give up a chicken. He could only let them eat half of it. Ridiculous time always passes quickly, and it always passes when you inadvertently get a few thrills. Chen Lian, who didn't have a good rest all night, went to work the next day. Chen Zihan and Fan Bingbing also got on the plane to Xiangjiang. In 1998, there were no direct flights to Wanwan. On the plane, Fan Bingbing watched the sleepy Chen Zihan holding her back to prevent her from sleeping, and kept asking questions. "The three of you were together last night. How did three people do it? Is it taking turns?" Chen Zihan was so sleepy that he pushed Fan Bingbing's head onto the seat and said, "If you really want to know, I'll give you a try next time. Don't ask me now. I'm sleepy. I want to sleep." "You didn't sleep all night, did you?" "Absolutely." Chen Zihan yawned and said, 3 or 4 times, I can't remember it anymore." "Stop talking, I want to sleep." Fan Bingbing, it sounds so exciting. I'll definitely ask her after she wakes up." In the studio, Chen Lian, who had dark circles under his eyes, was still busy. Bai Qing was sitting next to him, drinking tea, looking at the sky outside the window and leisurely spreading his thoughts. She had a very vague inspiration in her mind, but she still hasn't figured it out yet, only the last veil has yet to be lifted. She thought about going over and asking Chen Lian, but she didn't want to be disturbed by his thoughts, so she just sat here and thought in a daze every day. Chen Lian didn't care about her. Isn't that what artists do when they create? Chen Lian took off the pencil from his ears and drew beautiful lines on the drawing paper. He was not focused on designing clothes, but on creating a unique painting. When Chen Lian finished drawing the picture in his hand and raised his head, he realized that Bo Qing had disappeared. Chen Lian stretched out and breathed a sigh of relief when he looked at the finished design draft. It's finally done, and now there are only 3 outfits left to design. Chen Lian yawned and was about to go home to catch up on his sleep, when Gao Yuan ran in a hurry. "I knew you were in the studio." Gao Yuan felt happy for herself. Chen Lian looked at Gao Yuan, who suddenly ran over and asked with a smile, "Why are you here suddenly? I haven't seen you for a few days and I miss you." Gao Yuan hugged Chen Lian's arm and said, "I just came over after filming the commercial." Chen Lian smiled and scratched Gao Yuan's nose and said, "Fortunately you came by chance, otherwise I would have left. I'll give you a call next time." "This is called knowing each other and meeting each other thousands of miles away," Gao Yuan said happily, raising her head. Such a coincidence made her feel very romantic. Chen Lian smiled and asked, "Guess what I want to do now?" "Miss me?" Answer in Gao Yuan's expectant eyes, Chen Lian said with a smile, "That's right. I was thinking about what to take us to Miwan to eat. How about hot pot? Your big sister wants to eat steak." Okay, let's have steak. When Chen Lian took Gao Yuan to eat, he realized what she wanted to do here. If Dabai doesn't let you take that drama, don't take it. Chen Lian wiped his mouth and said, I'll introduce you to another drama later. Gao Yuan said with some disappointment, well, Love Malatang is so popular now, I want to take this opportunity to shoot a few more movies. When it comes to Love Malatang, Chen Lian is quite speechless. This movie was released in December. You heard it right, a full 12 months. Even if Cameron's big ship comes, Love Malatang's Lian Ying is not affected. However, the box office is not very good, with a total box office of more than 30 million in 12 months. How can I put it this way? You can say it's a bad movie. It grossed quite a lot at the box office. But you can say it's great. It was released for another 12 months. It's hard to comment anyway. Chen Lian looked at Gao Yuan with a somewhat disappointed look and said, that director is not a good thing. Dabai doesn't let you take it because of your consideration. The company will open a new game this year. Then you can ask Dabai to arrange it for you. What do you mean? Is he bad? I am yours, but he still dares to mess with me, Gao Yuan asked curiously. Chen Lian couldn't help but smile and said, I can't watch you around the clock. There are everyone in this circle. I'd rather mess with a gentleman than a villain. Gao Yuan pouted and said, oh, okay then, I'll just wait for the company to arrange it. It's good to shoot commercials now. Having more money and less work is much better than TV dramas. That's true. It only costs a few dollars to make a TV series, and you're not short of money. No, the money you gave me is not enough. I still want to buy a car. Chen Lian raised his eyebrows and looked at Gao Yuan who was eating with his head down and asked with a smile, are you all optimistic about the car? Gao Yuan raised her little face and looked at Chen Lian and said, you really understand me. Chen Lian stretched out his hand and knocked her on the head and said, next time if you have something to say, just tell her directly and go in such a big circle. Know it? Gao Yuan is also a bit scheming, but she is not very smart. She has a feeling of being both smart and naive. Gao Yuan wanted to buy a car, but Chen Lian didn't care. A car only cost a few dollars. After the financial market in South Korea stabilized, Mr. Tang sold all his previous shares at a high price and left with a large sum of cash. Mr. Tang did some calculations and found that in just 2 months, Chen Lian's account alone made more than 40 million US dollars. This is still the result of rushing out of the market and selling at a low price. If you keep it in your hands and continue to hold it for a period of time, the price will be higher. However, the money is waiting for use in the factory, and Chen Lian cannot hold on to the money. The most important thing is that Xiangjiang has been attacked by Wall Street again. The Xiangjiang authorities are raising US dollars, and the country has also begun to recover foreign exchange reserves as a precaution. The foreign exchange that Leixin obtained through several debtors through connections must now be exchanged back. More than 90 million US dollars in foreign exchange now no longer belongs to Chen Lian, and only 800 million yuan in RMB is left back to Leixin's account. After the New Year celebrations at Leixin, the VCD production line ramped up production again, and MP3 research and development also required a lot of funds. Trial and error is always a waste of money, and they are still researching memory according to Chen Lian's requirements. R/U0026D funds are disappearing as fast as boiling water. In addition to returning the more than 100 million US dollars, Chen Lian kept more than 50 million US dollars in Mr. Tang's hands to continue supporting the financial defense war in Hong Kong. Anyway, you won't lose money, and you can still take a bite out of Wall Street when you attack them. Chen Lian himself took back 2 million US dollars and converted it into RMB 10 million, which was enough. In the next few days, while buying a car for Gao Yuan, Chen Lian bought cars for all the girls in the mainland. You can't favor one over the other. Being an emperor. Bah, bah, what is the most important thing about being a Neptune? It is to get the rain and dew equally. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 383. Chapter 369-368. I will step on you one day. It was still a bit cold in Beijing in mid-April. Chen Lian was drinking hot tea and folded the design he had just drawn in a folder. After more than 2 months of busy work, I finally finished all the designs. I modified the clothes based on my ancestors' designs to create clothes that are more suitable for modern times. It sounds simple, but when I actually did it, I found that it was not simple at all. It is necessary to retain the characteristics of ethnic costumes while also being more in line with modern society. Many ethnic costumes are very troublesome to wear. Redesigning them while retaining their characteristics almost makes Chen Lian want to go bald. This still requires the help of so many masters, otherwise Chen Lian might not be able to make it even if he tinkered for 2 more months. Being a designer is really not something that ordinary people can do. Only then did Chen Lian understand why those foreign designers ended up on the road of drug abuse. The mental pressure was not as high as usual. After finishing these things, Chen Lian was also ready to leave for Yangcheng. Firstly, he would keep an eye on the progress of MP3 research and development, and secondly, he would go to Shenzhen to see the progress of the Miss Universe contest. The promotion for April has already started for 2 weeks, and registration has already begun. Chen Lian is a little worried about this. After all, it is a national competition, and Shenzhen is the most important part of the mainland competition. I always feel uneasy if I don't go and take a look. After Chen Lian packed up all the design drafts in the studio, he set off for the company. His little assistant has not yet been found. After talking to Li Shui last time, she agreed, but she is still training at Dabai. Dabai was very serious about training this time, fearing that Lu Tao's situation would happen again, where he would go on a business trip with his boss and feel like he was in a different world. Li Dabai may have forgotten the mistakes he made when he first became Chen Lian's assistant. But there's nothing she can do about it. Who knows that she has completely mastered the skills and even reached the top? No one would know about the mistakes Chen Lian had made in the past. In the company, Li Dabai is busy looking at which crews are in need of actors recently, and is preparing to find some work for the people under him. Chen Lian stood at the door and watched Li Dabai busy without disturbing her. After watching for a while, he went to Chen Myron's office. After returning from Wanwan, Chen Myron started busy selling the rights to Huanzu in the mainland. Although it was not the first broadcast, it was no different from the first broadcast in the mainland. After Chen Lian knocked on the door and went in, Chen Myron held the phone and asked Chen Lian to do it by himself, and then continued to communicate with the person on the other end of the phone. Chen Lian listened for a while and talked about returning the pearl. Wanwan CCTV has been broadcasting for a week, and the ratings are very good, reaching 12%, which is almost the same as the original version. Such results made Chen Lian sigh with relief, and also made Myron Chen extremely happy. The higher the ratings of Wanwan, the higher the selling price in the mainland will be. After Chen Myron chatted on the phone for a while, she looked at Chen Lian with a smile and said, "Do you know what price Beijing Satellite TV just offered me?" Chen Lian shook his head and wondered where he could go. Chen Myron said happily, 190,000 an episode. There are 24 episodes in total. Wanwan and mainland together have sold nearly 10 million. Is it a lot? Chen Lian asked with a frown. This was a little different from his memory. If he remembered correctly, the first episode of Return of the Pearl sold 390,000 yuan per episode. Chen Myron nodded excitedly and said, "This is not much. This is not exclusive. We can continue to sell it, but the price may not be so high later. It's not exclusive, so that's okay." Chen Lian smiled and said, Tell the TV station that I will reserve the advertising space before and after Huanzu is broadcast, and the copyright price can be lower. Chen Myron was stunned for a moment and said unhappily, advertising for Lixin? You can't favor one over the other, the company also needs to make money. Chen Lian knocked her on the head and said, I am supplying you alone, why don't I share Qian Yao's share? Huh? This is okay. Chen Myron's eyes lit up, she looked at Chen Lian and said, you are still a thief. Then I will lower the copyright and let the TV station charge you less advertising fees. Chen Lian smiled and said, it doesn't matter. The main thing is that I'm worried that the advertising space will be difficult to grab. You can talk about it as you normally would. That's not okay. You can't let them make money from you. If you want to make money, I will make it too. Miser. After Chen Lian and Chen Myron chatted for a while, they mentioned that they were going to Yangcheng. Chen Myron immediately called her assistant to buy gifts. You can't go empty-handed when you go to see your uncle and aunt. After finishing the phone call, Chen Myron suppressed her smile and asked secretly, does Gong Li not know that you are going to Yangcheng? Chen Lian smiled and said, I don't know, no one is stealing your limelight. That's good. Chen Myron was in a better mood, hugged Chen Lian's face and kissed her. We are an old married couple, don't act like this, be serious if you can. Just play. Chen Myron immediately stood up and closed the office door. After a while, the temperature in the office skyrocketed, and the sound of drumming could be heard. When the office door opened again, the temperature inside was already very cold, and the windows were wide open for ventilation. Chen Myron was lying on the table so tired that she no longer wanted to work. She was so tired and dehydrated that she didn't even want to move her fingers. Chen Lian left the office and went to find Li Dabai. Li Dabai smelled Chen Lian's body, slapped him in disgust and said, you two can't go home and play again. If so many people in the company are discovered, it will be a shame for you. Why do I sense jealousy? Chen Lian said with a smile. Li Dabai snorted and said, I didn't. I just finished my work. Please treat me to dinner. Where to eat? Go home and eat. Oh. Early the next morning, Chen Lian went out to prepare for Yangcheng. Li Shui, who had successfully graduated, helped Chen Lian carry his luggage very dedicatedly and made all the arrangements along the way. On the plane, Chen Lian was reading a magazine, and Li Shui was recording her experience as an assistant in her little notebook. Chen Lian read the magazine for a while and put it down. He looked at Li Shui and asked, how is your sister doing lately? How were the ratings of previous dramas? As usual, I'm filming with another crew now. Li Shui closed her notebook and explained, this time I'm working with an actor named Ding Zijun from Xiangjiang, and she plays the female lead. Chen Lian recalled that he had never heard of this name before, so he probably didn't think the show was that good either. As long as there are scenes to film, it will become popular sooner or later. Li Shui nodded, hesitated but still didn't help Li Bingbing seek resources. She had just become Chen Lian's assistant, and the relationship hadn't reached that point yet. The plane landed in Yangcheng soon. The air in Yangcheng was much better than that in Beijing, and it was not cold at all. Chen Lian, who had just landed in Yangcheng, took off his heavy coat and stretched his body comfortably. But what Chen Lian didn't expect was that he would be caught by Li Fuchen as soon as he came out. Li Fuchen leaned in front of the car door, wearing sunglasses and raising his chin, looking at Chen Lian. He tilted his head slightly and opened the door to signal Chen Lian to follow. Chen Lian had a reasonable and unexpected feeling, so he asked the driver who came to pick him up from Li Shui's factory to go back first. When Chen Lian sat in Li Fuchen's car, the girl took off her sunglasses and said with a smile, "Is it an accident?" Chen Lian shook his head and said, "It's not surprising. Samsung is developing very well here. What's strange about my flight?" Li Fuchen said proudly, "It's good to know." Now you understand the gap between yourself and Samsung. Although Wall Street took away most of Samsung's equity, it still survived in the end and will be even better in the future. Li Fuqian now feels proud and proud. Chen Lian smiled and said, I've always known it, but what does Samsung have to do with you? Li Fuqian, he is really good at irritating people. Li Fuqian snorted, kicked the accelerator, started the car and sped away. Chen Lian fastened his seat belt silently, wondering why these girls drove fast when they were in a bad mood, not afraid of death. Chen Lian, who hasn't driven a car for several years, has a hard time understanding what's so good about driving fast. However, Li Fuqian was different from others. He quickly calmed down and slowed down the car. The car was quiet for a while, and then Li Fuqian suddenly said, I know what your project is. Chen Lian was shocked. The news was leaked. What do those people in the R/U0026D department do for food? Li Fuqian glanced at the nervous Chen Lian, the corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he felt extremely proud. If you hide it, I won't find out. Man, you underestimate the eldest princess of Samsung. Chen Lian frowned and thought about the seriousness of this matter. If Li Fuqian made MP3 at Samsung, Samsung would probably be able to catch up with Lixin's progress very quickly based on Samsung's strength, and might even be the first to release the product one step ahead. Now we can only pray that Li Fuqian will not start this project at Samsung. After Chen Lian calmed down, he turned to look at Li Fuqian and asked, so what do you want to do? Li Fuqian snorted and said, your idea is nothing special. Semiconductors are not what you can do. In this regard, there is at least 50 years between you and the international advanced level. Semiconductor. Chen Lian was stunned for a while, and suddenly thought of a possibility. This girl didn't think she was making a memory, right? Chen Lian said without changing his expression, is the gap of 50 years big? It's not impossible to catch up. Don't think so simply. You'd better give up on this project as soon as possible. Li Fuqian came down to the airport and turned around on the expressway before continuing, I'm not optimistic about whether your project will have results in a while, so I'm not going to go get a job for you. You came to see me today just to reject me. Chen Lian looked at the side of her face and really wanted to pinch it hard. Little girl, you guessed it wrong. Li Fuqian was silent for a while and then said calmly, there is one more thing. What's the matter? Chen Lian asked curiously. Li Fuqian turned his head and glanced at Chen Lian in surprise, and said strangely, aren't you angry? Why are you angry? It's your loss if you don't come. Chen Lian shrugged and said in a relaxed tone, I'm more curious now, do you need my help with anything? Listening to Chen Lian's words, Li Fuqian felt a little angry for no reason. He was still so arrogant at this time. Don't you know how to save yourself? Please, please, just in case I become soft-hearted, I will agree. Arrogant man. Even more annoying than that coward Li Jiayong. Looking at Li Fuqian, who had been silent for a long time, Chen Lian was not in a hurry. There would always be time to speak. However, Li Fuqian's own mistake this time also gave Chen Lian a sense of urgency. MP3 is a new thing, and it is normal that Li Fuqian did not guess it. However, if the research and development is still so slow, there will indeed be big problems. Chen Lian silently thought about what type of whip he should use to whip those researchers back to intensify research and development. He has been grinding for more than 4 months and still hasn't finished it yet. So much money wasted. The car fell into an eerie silence, which was broken only when it stopped at the door of the hotel. Chen Lian turned his head and looked at it, then said with a smile, do you want to treat me to dinner? Li Fuqian snorted without saying anything, got out of the car and threw the keys to the doorman. Chen Lian also opened the car door and followed Li Fuqian, looking at the slow look that made Li Fuqian's teeth itch with hatred. Chen Lian followed Li Fuqian into the elevator, and Li Fuqian directly pressed the button for the 8th floor. Chen Lian glanced at the restaurant on the third floor, and the guest room on the eighth floor. It seemed that this girl really wanted help from him, so why should she go to the room to keep it secret? Soon Chen Lian followed Li Fuchen into the hotel room. The room was quite good, a beautiful suite. Lunch has been prepared in the room, and it seems that the waiter has just delivered it. Chen Lian sat directly at the dining table, poured a glass of wine, and took a sip. It tasted the same as the one he drank in Korea last time. You still remember this wine? You are thoughtful. Chen Lian put down the wine glass and looked at Li Fuchen and said, "Tell me, is there anything you need my help with?" Li Fuchen poured himself a glass of wine and drank it in one breath before saying, "We'll talk later, let's eat first." "You can keep your composure," Chen Lian muttered quietly and started to eat. It would be a waste not to eat so much delicious food. There are just a few too many oysters, which just makes up for it. The two of them ate and drank in silence, one more calm than the other. However, after drinking too much, Li Fuchen finally couldn't maintain the iceberg-like expression on his face. Her fair face was slightly red, she had drunk a little too much. Chen Lian didn't stop her from drinking. She could only tell the truth after drinking. It wasn't until all the wine in the decanter was drunk that Li Fuchen held up his arms limply and watched with blurred eyes as Chen Lian said a lot of words in Korean. Chen Lian was confused. He couldn't understand it at all. What was he talking about? Was it a curse? After Li Fuchen said a lot, he suddenly stood up and walked to Chen Lian, grabbed his chin, and touched Chen Lian's face unsteadily with his other hand. "Why are you so beautiful?" Chen Lian understood the sentence and finally spoke English, "Thank God." Li Fuchen said this, then fell into Chen Lian's arms and hugged him, rubbing his little face against Chen Lian's neck. He said in a daze, "I will never forget that day. You seem to have planted a seed in my heart, and it grew like a wild weed." Chen Lian looked at Li Fuchen, who suddenly became artistic. He didn't know how to answer for a while, so he could only express it through actions. Li Fuchen also responded to Chen Lian crazily, pressing him on the back of the chair, riding on him and looking down at him and said, "You arrogant man. Sooner or later I will step on you." Chen Lian glanced at Li Fuchen's silk stocking feet, which had kicked off their high heels, coughed and said, "It's okay today." "Huh?" Li Fuchen tilted his head and looked at Chen Lian, as if he heard wrongly. It wasn't until 10 minutes later that Li Fuchen stepped on Chen Lian's vitals in shame and said, "That's not what I meant. Shh, don't talk, it's the same. Dot. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 384. Chapter 373 69. Dragon and Phoenix Fight. Some people are born strong, and some people are born stubborn. When these two types of people meet together, the stronger one will not soften, and the weaker one will not be willing to be humble. Chen Lian and Li Fuchen are such people, one is strong and the other is stubborn. When we meet together, there is always a fight over who is willing to give in to whom. In Chen Lian's eyes, a stubborn woman like Li Fuchen had to forcefully suppress her to truly convince her. In Li Fuchen's eyes, an arrogant and talented man like Chen Lian should surrender under her pomegranate skirt. In the hotel room, Chen Lian grabbed Li Fuchen's wrist and pushed her down on the sofa, and asked fiercely from behind, "Do you admit defeat or not?" Li Fuchen's face turned red with embarrassment and anger, but he gritted his teeth and said, "I don't admit it." "You're tough, right? Let's have a fight." Chen Lian directly clamped Li Fuchen's shoulders with his backhand and clasped her slender neck from behind with both hands. After Li Fuchen was clamped, his upper body could not move at all. He kept struggling with his hands open, as if he was drowning. Chen Lian clamped Li Fuchen's hands with his hands, and sat on the sofa with a groan. Li Fuchen, who was clamped by Chen Lian from behind, sat close to him. As soon as he sat down, he frowned and groaned in pain. Chen Lian's legs flexibly separated Li Fuchen's kicking feet and directly divided them into figures to face the mirror in front of him. Li Fuchen couldn't move at all. He looked at his long and slender legs in the mirror being tightly clamped and separated by Chen Lian, like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. The shame in his heart rose directly along with his blood, and his fair skin was instantly flushed. Chen Lian pressed Li Fuchen tightly and did not give her a chance to resist and stand up. He asked fiercely one by one, "You go to the end. Admit it? No. Admit it? Lose. I will never give up. Okay, okay, let's see if you can hold on." Li Fuchen struggled fiercely to break away from Chen Lian's grasp, but every time he got up a little, he lost strength and sat down again. Chen Lian once thought that Li Fuchen was deliberately cooperating with him. Li Fuchen himself felt that this was not only useless, but would only get worse, so he changed his way of escape and struggled back and forth. Seeing Li Fuchen struggling so hard and refusing to admit defeat, Chen Lian was a little impressed and simply relaxed some strength to make her struggle easier. Just like the fully automatic washing machine that goes back and forth, and the high-speed soy milk machine that quickly grinds and squeezes the pulp. Anyway, in the end, Chen Lian softened a little and gave way to Li Fuchen, otherwise she would definitely not be willing to bow her head now with her stubborn temper. After all, Samsung is different now, and Li Fuchen feels very confident. Looking at Li Fuchen, who was still staring at him even though he was no longer able to do anything, Chen Lian didn't look good. He sat on the sofa and lit a cigarette for the first time in a long time. It's just that this kind of Korean lady's fine cigarette doesn't really match Chen Lian. Chen Lian took 2 puffs and was about to throw it away when Li Fuchen reached out and took it away, leaned on the sofa and took a puff, then naturally leaned into Chen Lian's arms. "Are you really planning to make semiconductors?" Li Fuchen held a cigarette between his slender fingers and turned to look at Chen Lian and asked. Chen Lian smelled the sweet smell of smoke, wrinkled his nose and said, "No, you just guessed wrong." Li Fuchen's eyes lit up, but he became more gentle. He deliberately blew out the cigarette on Chen Lian's chest and stretched out his hand to draw a circle on it. "No wonder you don't care what I think." Li Fuchen bit his red lips and said, "Then what are you going to do?" Chen Lian suppressed his inner thoughts, grabbed Li Fuchen's hand and put out the cigarette directly and said, "Don't you know how to guess? I'll tell you if you guess it right." When Li Fuchen saw Chen Lian calm down again, a trace of frustration flashed in his heart. He looked at him with dark eyes and asked, "Aren't you even a little attracted to me?" Chen Lian raised his eyebrows, pinched Li Fuchen's chin and said, "There is no need to pretend to be pitiful in front of me. You don't need to, and you are not pitiful." Snapped. Li Fuchen raised his hand and slapped Chen Lian, then stood up from his arms, coldly picked up the clothes on the ground and put them on one by one. Chen Lian sat on the sofa and touched his slightly sore chin and looked at Li Fuchen, as if appreciating and commemorating. This woman is too difficult to deal with. Chen Lian will never tell the truth to her until he is not sure. After getting dressed, Li Fuchen's face no longer showed any emotion. He just looked at Chen Lian coldly and said, "I will not have any cooperation with you until you tell me." Chen Lian shrugged his shoulders and said, "Okay, I won't force you." Li Fuchen took a deep look at Chen Lian and turned around to leave. However, when he reached the door, he stopped and said in a cold voice, "Samsung will increase VCD shipments this year. You don't have much time." Chen Lian didn't reply after hearing this. He didn't sigh until he heard the door closing. What the hell is this? Calling him here just for a fight? But Chen Lian didn't have time to sigh now, so he called Li Shui directly, then put on his clothes and went downstairs. More than half an hour later, Chen Lian appeared in the R/U0026D department of the factory. Looking at a group of unkempt researchers working hard, he couldn't say anything he wanted to curse. It is estimated that these researchers did not leak the secret. Li Fujian guessed that it was semiconductors. He should have found that the factory recently purchased a lot of materials and equipment related to memory production. Domestic R/U0026D capabilities are actually not weak, but they were lagging behind across the board before. Now if we want to catch up with international standards, we can only focus on R/U0026D. Many less important technologies basically rely on imports, because these things do not affect the overall economic development. On the contrary, purchasing semi-finished products from foreign manufacturers for processing will also stimulate economic development. However, Chen Lian is willing to spend money. MP3 is the first step for likes in electronics to become truly powerful and the foundation for the future, so Chen Lian is willing to spend any amount of money. After Chen Lian came to the factory, the R/U0026D team worked overtime for 3 days and produced some results. In the factory's office, Chen Lian and the manager of the R/U0026D team were communicating about the progress of MP3 development. Chen Lian already has a finished product in his hands, but the memory is too small, only 32 MB, so he can only play a few songs. This is not the result that Chen Lian wanted. After spending so much money on research, the memory of the first generation product is so small that it is difficult to compete with the Walkman. The memory of the Walkman's MD disk is several times that of it, and the cost is not that high. If MP3 is only of this level, it will not be competitive. Chen Lian looked at the MP3 player in his hand, which was smaller than an iPod, hesitated for a moment and said, "You can make the size a little larger, and you must increase the memory, at least double it. This is a bit difficult and may take a while. In fact, we can change the way of thinking. Why not compress the size of the song? The MP3 format is actually not very good. Although it is simple to decode, the file is very large. If a new audio format can be made, the memory problem can be solved. The most important thing is that there are no patent issues." Chen Lian suddenly realized that he was still very good at research and development. Why didn't he think of this aspect? However, it was too difficult to promote a new audio format. Seeing that Chen Lian was silent, the R/U0026D manager thought he had made a mistake, so he closed the document and said, "Mr. Chen, I won't disturb you anymore. I'm going back to the research room now." Chen Lian paused and said, "Your idea is very good. This is also a possibility, but are you sure you can make it happen? Based on the current situation, we are not sure, but if we expand the team and have professional talents join, there is still hope. Then do it, but don't stop developing MP3 players." "Okay, I'll get ready now." After he left, Chen Lian looked at the black MP3 player in his hand and sighed. If you want to promote an audio format, it's not just about the qualified player product. The format of the song, the development of the internet, and the popularity of personal computers are all issues. This is why Chen Lian wants to find a strong partner. It is too difficult to rely on himself. The current situation in China is that there is no market for MP3 players at all. The market can only be found in Europe and the United States. After Chen Lian played with it for a while, he thought for a while and called Li Fujian. The phone rang several times before it was answered. Li Fujian's voice was cold and a little tired. "What do you want from me?" Chen Lian sighed helplessly in his heart, squeezed out a smile that Li Fujian couldn't see and said, "I want to talk to you." Li Fujian, who was busy signing documents, paused for a moment before signing, and then said coldly, "If it is still the same as before, then there is no need for us to meet." The secretary waiting opposite Li Fujian felt a little strange when she saw the smile on her lips. She was obviously smiling happily, but her words were so cold. Chen Lian looked at the MP3 player in his hand and said calmly, "You'll know when you get here." Li Fujian seemed to sense that Chen Lian was in a hurry, otherwise he would not have called him. He put down the pen in his hand and leaned on the back of his chair and said, "I don't have time. You have to come to Huizhou to see me." "Okay, I'll be there tonight." Chen Lian didn't waste any words, he took the initiative to call and write something. After hanging up the phone, Li Fujian couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth crazily, and his handwriting flew up when he signed the document. The little secretary looked at the signature on it and wondered if it was Li Fujian's boyfriend who just called him to admit his mistake after the quarrel. Chen Lian has already got on the bus to Huizhou. The only person accompanying him is Li Shui. Xiao Linmu is too busy supplying VCDs to worry about MP3s. 2 hours later, Chen Lian arrived in Huizhou and went directly to the Samsung branch. Looking at Samsung's elegant and tidy factory building, Chen Lian made a call to Li Fujian. After chatting for a while and hanging up the phone, Chen Lian asked Li Shui to drive away directly and stopped at a place 2 intersections away from Samsung. Half an hour later, a car stopped next to Chen Lian's car. Li Fujian, dressed in professional attire, rolled down the window and tilted his head slightly towards Chen Lian. Chen Lian asked Li Shui to find a hotel to stay in, and then moved to Li Fujian's car. After getting in the car, Li Fujian still ignored Chen Lian with a cold face. Chen Lian didn't take the initiative to speak. He just took out his earphones and put one on himself and another on Li Fujian. When the princess's ethereal singing came to his ears, Li Fujian's expression changed a little, and he took the initiative to say, "You like listening to music, why didn't you realize it before?" Chen Lian smiled and said nothing, casually throwing the MP3 player on the center console between the two of them. Li Fujian glanced subconsciously, and then slammed on the brakes. Originally she thought it was a Walkman, but the thing on the center console was too small, much smaller than the Walkman, and also very thin. There was no way there could be such a small Walkman. Li Fujian stopped the car and turned to look at Chen Lian and asked, "What is this?" Chen Lian smiled and said, "This is my new project." Just as Li Fujian was about to pick it up and take a look, Chen Lian took it away first. After casually pressing the song cut button, the song in the earphones paused and started playing again. Li Fujian watched Chen Lian cut 7 or 8 songs in a row, and the expression on his face finally changed. Being so small and having so many songs, this is no better than a Walkman. Li Fujian knew how big the Walkman market was. If this product could replace the Walkman, how much wealth would it be? Chen Lian seemed to be tired of switching songs and stopped at the song "The Princess's Easily Injured Woman." Li Fujian listened to the singing in the headphones and found that the sound quality was not bad. Although it was not as good as the Walkman, it could definitely satisfy 90% of people. Where do the songs inside come from and are they stored directly in it? Can the memory be wiped repeatedly? How big is the memory capacity? How much does it cost? Can this shape be changed? How long can the battery capacity last? Li Fujian asked a bunch of key questions in one breath, but Chen Lian didn't answer any of them. He just put his finger on Li Fujian's red lips and said, "Listen quietly to this song." Li Fujian looked at Chen Lian, who suddenly became affectionate and nodded subconsciously. The singing in the headphones reached her ears with a touch of sadness. The car suddenly became quiet, except for the sound of the two breathing. They still didn't speak until the song ended. After being silent for several minutes, Li Fujian finally couldn't hold it in any longer, looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Can you answer my question now?" Chen Lian glanced at her, pulled off the headphones from her ears, and put the MP3 into his pocket. Li Fujian couldn't help but feel angry when he saw Chen Lian like this, but thinking about the product just now, he couldn't help but whisper, "You came to me on your own initiative." Chen Lian looked at her innocently and said, "Yes, I just want to share a song with you." Chen Lian. "You bastard," Li Fujian shouted angrily. Chen Lian took out his ears and said, "You're right, I'm a bastard, so have you thought about it?" Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian's scoundrel appearance, calmed down after taking a few deep breaths, started the car and drove away without saying anything. Chen Lian sat aside and looked down at the MP3 player in his hand. He felt that the color was really ugly. It was indeed the simple and crude aesthetic of men in science and engineering. Soon the car stopped in front of a villa. Li Fuchen turned to look at Chen Lian and said, "Get out of the car." Chen Lian glanced outside and said, "Where is this?" "This is where I live." After Li Fuchen said that, he opened the door and got out of the car. Chen Lian put the MP3 player in his pocket and followed. If tonight goes well, he and Li Fuchen will talk all night long. Fringe artists in the entertainment industry. Author, Chizu de Xiaomao. Chapter 385. Chapter 371-370. Truly intimate cooperation. Samsung's revenue in China is really good. Li Fuchen's villa is bigger than Chen Lian's in Beijing. Oh, Chen Lian doesn't have a villa, he just likes good sisters and good sisters. Li Fuchen went upstairs to his room to change clothes, while Chen Lian wandered around the villa boredly. The whole villa had no sense of life at all. Chen Lian felt that Li Fuchen just came back to sleep every day. However, the bottles of wine on the wine cabinet were pretty good. Chen Lian looked at the half-drunk bottle of whiskey on the cabinet and poured himself a glass. It didn't taste good, not as good as Urquatu. Chen Lian went and added ice cubes to make the taste better. Li Fuchen didn't know when he came down. Looking at Chen Lian's disgusted look while drinking, he felt that Chen Lian was real at this time. Chen Lian turned to look at Li Fuchen, put down the wine glass and said, "Is there anything to eat? I'm hungry." "There are ramen, do you want to eat?" Li Fuchen, wearing a black silk home clothes, walked to the kitchen, pulled out a pack of instant noodles and shook it at Chen Lian. Chen Lian hadn't eaten instant noodles for a long time, and he was quite interested, so he said, "Okay, can you make it?" Li Fuchen nodded and said, "Every Korean can cook ramen. I often ate it when I was in college." Chen Lian thought about it, who doesn't know how to make instant noodles? Li Fuchen boiled water and cooked noodles neatly, while Chen Lian watched from the side and thought the scene was quite fun. The eldest princess of Samsung cooks instant noodles for herself, which is really interesting. Soon the instant noodles were ready. Li Fuchen took the pot and sat down at the dining table and handed Chen Lian a pair of chopsticks. Li Fuchen ignored Chen Lian and directly picked up the instant noodles in the pot with chopsticks and ate them. There wasn't even a bowl, so Chen Lian had no choice but to share a pot of noodles with Li Fuchen. The amount of instant noodles was very small. Li Fuchen had an even smaller appetite and stopped eating after a few bites. Chen Lian was so hungry that he ate it all. "It tastes pretty good," Chen Lian said, patting his unchanged belly. Li Fuchen hummed, took the pot and threw it into the kitchen sink. Looking at Chen Lian's disgusted eyes, he said angrily, "Oil stains will make the skin worse. A nanny will come to wash it tomorrow." Oh, Chen Lian withdrew his gaze, nestled comfortably on the sofa, looked at Li Fuchen and said, "Whatever you wanted to talk about when you brought me here, you can talk about it now." Li Fuchen gritted his teeth and forced out a smile and said, "It was you who called me. I want to share my playlist with you, haven't I already shared it with you? Go away." "Okay." Chen Lian stood up and was about to leave, but was stopped by Li Fuchen before he took 2 steps. She really had nothing to do with Chen Lian. No man except her father had ever been so forceful to her since she was a child. Even her brother Li Jiayong is cautious and cautious. He has never been as strong and careless as Chen Lian. Li Fuchen felt that her heart was in confusion. Her mood had never been calm since she met Chen Lian. Chen Lian also listened to advice. Li Fuchen asked him to go back, so he sat back on the sofa and ate apples. Li Fuchen took a deep breath and looked at Chen Lian and said, If you tell me all the information about the product and the true development progress, I will consider cooperating with you. Chen Lian raised an eyebrow, bit an apple, looked at Li Fuchen and said, "You don't seem to have figured out the situation yet. Now it's me who gives you a chance to get on the bus, not you who gives me a chance. I can always find a replacement for you, but you will never get a second chance to work with me." In a calm state, Li Fuchen's brain was not very easy to use. He sat opposite Chen Lian, crossed his legs and said calmly, "If you can really find someone more suitable than me, will you still sit here? I don't know your product. What exactly is going on, but one thing is not difficult to guess. Once it goes on the market, it will inevitably face the target of many Walkman brands such as Sony. A small Leixin does not have this ability, not to mention that Leixin's Pillar Project VCD also needs to purchase components from Sony." Chen Lian couldn't help but applaud and said, "You are right, but your situation is not as good as mine, so don't say such things." Li Fuchen was not angry and looked at Chen Lian and said, "So we are the most suitable people. I can help you, and you can help me. Leave this project to me, and Samsung will directly acquire the shares of Leixin Electronics, so you don't have to worry Sony is threatening." Chen Lian couldn't help curling his lips and said, "Does Samsung have the money to acquire Leixin now? And what's the benefit of me selling my shares to you and working for you? Are you stupid?" Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian and asked, "Then what do you think?" Chen Lian sighed and said, "Originally, I wanted to cooperate with you, but if you think about it carefully, you have no say at all in Samsung. What is the benefit of cooperating with you? What I lack is not a senior executive, but a senior executive as a partner who can help me withstand pressure and open up the international market. Maybe some companies in the United States are more suitable for me. Isn't Samsung also controlled by Wall Street now?" Li Fuchen frowned, thought about it carefully, and found that it seemed to be true, and it was a bit worrying. Looking at Chen Lian who was eating an apple, Li Fuchen suddenly realized something. How could such a greedy person cooperate with Wall Street capital? If he was really willing to cooperate with others, how could he come to him? Li Fuchen suddenly calmed down. Although he had no advantage, Samsung was always his support. If Chen Lian cooperated with Samsung through himself, his status in Samsung would also rise sharply. Chen Lian finished eating the apple and threw the core into the trash can, not knowing that what he had just done revealed his inner thoughts. Li Fuchen looked at Chen Lian and said, "Tell me your conditions. How do you want to cooperate? In your words, there is no need to hide it in front of me. I am transparent in your eyes, and you are transparent in my eyes." Chen Lian couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, wiped his hands and said, "Actually, I didn't lie to you. At first, I really wanted to cooperate with Samsung through you, but now I have discovered another possibility, so you are really not the best good choice, but I still want to give you a chance." Li Fuchen frowned and asked, "Your music player itself is not difficult to develop, but the audio format must be in the hands of others. Do you want to create a new audio format now?" Chen Lian smiled and said, "You are really smart. This product itself has no technical barriers, but 2 core patents are in the hands of Germans." Li Fuchen recalled all the information about audio and then said, "Is it the MP3 patent? Wouldn't it be better to just get the license? You can also cooperate with me and promote the product through Samsung's overseas channels." Chen Lian sighed and said, "It is indeed possible, but the memory of the MP3 format is too large. It is difficult for the existing technology to amplify the characteristics of the product. Even if the product is launched, it will be difficult to compete with the Walkman. My team has already started research. I believe there will be results soon." Li Fuchen thought for a while and said, "It is true. If the development of products relies on the development of the semiconductor industry, it will be difficult to see results in a short period of time." Chen Lian nodded and said, unless Samsung can now make a memory with larger memory and smaller size, changing the format is the best choice. But it's most appropriate to get the MP3 license. Li Fujian looked at Chen Lian and said, it's too difficult to promote a new audio format. Chen Lian looked at Li Fujian and said, I know, but I want to make Apple and build a unicorn-like company. Li Fujian looked at Chen Lian in confusion, not understanding what he meant. Chen Lian just smiled without giving a specific explanation. The iPod will only appear in a few years. Li Fujian doesn't understand this now, but what Chen Lian wanted to do was never a simple music player. Chen Lian looked at Li Fujian and said, I hope we can reach cooperation. This will be a very difficult and exciting path, but the future will definitely give you unimaginable brilliance. What do you need me to do? Li Fujian asked seriously. Chen Lian said with a smile, I need more talents, a more professional R/U0026D team, and a marketing team that can push products to the international market at any time. And your identity is useful, and Samsung will give you a certain level of support. In Chen Lian's memory, Samsung was the first person to break the MP3 audio player, and the first person to open an MP3 music player was also Samsung. Samsung's technology in this area is still very good. Unlike Sony, which focuses on music, Samsung focuses on making electronic products. Li Fujian sat there and thought for a long time. Chen Lian never interrupted her. After half an hour, she looked up at Chen Lian and said, I can promise you, but I also have a condition. Say. Chen Lian looked at her and asked. You. Li Fujian pointed at Chen Lian and said, marry me. Chen Lian, don't joke with me, we're talking about business. Okay. Li Fujian curled his lips as if he was just joking. Looking at Chen Lian's speechless expression, he said, I understand what you mean. What you need is a professional manager. I need more shares. Your previous too little, otherwise it would be too risky for me to leave Samsung and follow you. The more shares I hold, the more support I can get from Samsung. Of course, if you can do it well. Chen Lian was willing to give Li Fujian more shares. He was not a solitary person, as long as he and his second uncle could still control the shares. It is too difficult for Chinese electronic products to open up the international market. Li Fujian's identity is really suitable. Chen Lian smiled and stretched out his hand and said, I wish us a happy cooperation. Li Fujian also stretched out his hand and said seriously, I hope the blueprint you mentioned can be realistic. I will definitely do it, Chen Lian assured seriously. Li Fujian suddenly smiled, lightly scratched Chen Lian's palm with his fingers and said, I think our relationship should be deeper and truly intimate. Why not? Chen Lian directly pulled Li Fujian into his arms, but this time the two were no longer in confrontation, but in harmony with each other.